Clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alrighty, bib jibs. Daily PoliTITS. Fix. Fuck. Daily PoliTITS. Special. It's the Great Erection. So we're having a masturbate. Fucking this is some sort of this is a hell of a game of soggy biscuit. We've got 7 contenders tonight. Anyway, and I'm waiting for a kebab. So I thought I'd kick off a wee bit early, get a wee bit of warm up, and I'll need to down tools because I need to eat. But I thought this would be good to watch. Vag is involved. Sunak is getting a new asshole ripped for him. The political landscape of the down south United Kingdom is getting rearranged just like Braveheart, Mel Gibson, done to us up here in Scotland. The deck chairs on the Titanic are getting rearranged, some may say.
Publicly, but it's no great secret that this has not gone down particularly well in the Conservative Party.
It's a dilemma, isn't it? Because you think tonight about
I'm going to try and
Penny
shut the fuck up so people can
stage,
hear stuff.
Her instinct would be to
No
not defend it because she's a veteran herself. Well, she's a reservist. She's an honorary commander.
Everybody and anybody's welcome.
She's representing Portsmouth constituency, but at the same time, she has
a virgin birth
majority. I was going to say only a 15,000 majority, but in the political times
we're in, maybe that's not enough.
So she somehow has to prop him up a bit.
And in a sense, that's why
it does upset people.
Sunak had to apologise.
That's why I do it.
Because if he hadn't apologised, it would be impossible to see how Penny Mordaunt could go onto that stage.
It makes people have
so he's apologised, which has made her life somewhat easier. But I imagine Penny Mordaunt
and then
will
obviously
not find this easy, because of her background in the military. As you say, she's a Portsmouth MP, Navy, and launch of D-Day. She will find it very, very difficult. And don't forget who she's up against, Nigel Farage.
I'd rather be the product of a virgin birth
about this today, and you can imagine the political pressure.
You don't or some shit, right? I can't even remember the inside baseball. It was irrelevant, but it was just the fact that
we're important. We're not that important.
It made their head fry.
Going through her paces there, all
and
the candidates, all 7 candidates.
Anyway, let's get stuck into this. Is democracy in action, y'all. It's going to be great.
Was telling us just a short time ago that when
remember,
she was
if you do appreciate this
candidates ahead of debate, she would always get them here early. She didn't want anybody to be rushed.
To the channel, all that
give them a bit of time to acclimatise to their
friends,
surroundings,
family, and foes.
Just as we move through here, you can see that everybody's
and you can always buy me a pint. Take shots more.
So when it does start, of course,
maybe an old night. I think I'm in for today.
Everybody will be following it closely, and then all.
That in mind, I need to adjust my levels.
The debate, because that's the moment when the spin room really does start to play a role. You'll hear from all sorts of MPs contextualising
BBC dominant tonight.
What they have heard. Here's a
low here,
I was just saying,
and I can lower my voice.
Before the storm, isn't it? Because all hell breaks loose the other side of the debate when everybody tries to put their
let me know if you can
everyone's
hear
friendly now.
that.
The headbutting will begin.
I find her strangely sexy. I don't know why. The Scottish accent, she's got that.
I feel like it's quite collegiate.
Headmistress.
There's a bit of cross-party action going on
here.
Spinners and journalists,
we rule the
crossing the divide. It's okay.
We have our own election, and we dominate down there.
Who's just having the final touches to her makeup, and it's
Rebel in the evening. Doberman, my friend.
In a format like this, I mean. Just spare a thought. There's 7 people, 90 minutes.
Just getting
trying to sort of control everything, and of course, every party will be watching.
I know me, mate. I think I'm Dick's in retirement right now.
To interrupt a bit more, so she will be thinking really scrupulously about how to be balanced and how to be fair. So she's got a really big job to do tonight.
And also the idea of kind of having game planned it. You know, she will have kind of had her structure, had her preparations, but then also having to be responsive to the kind of turn of events in the in the course of
she's
the
a bit
debate.
Mary
So
Poppins.
something unexpected. You know, she has to be prepared for all eventualities. I mean, we've just had a health and safety announcement in here for all of us, but you know,
right, is this real? Do these
people
people really buy into the pure, oh, this is amazing shit? Or have they been told, here, look, nobody's paying attention, nobody gives a shit. Message, nobody gives a shit. Make sure the kid on it's the best thing since the Oscars.
Each one of those candidates, particularly
That's kind of the impression I get.
they will want to have that unexpected moment, right? Remember the kind of Nick Clegg moment.
What unexpected moment? We've been sitting watching them constantly on 24-hour news for the last fucking couple of weeks.
In terms of the public consciousness, and that's really hard for the moderator as well, because if someone has a game
Right,
plan to try and disrupt things,
I said that in my video earlier on. This is how Badge is going to win it. They'll be arguing about percentage points.
They need it to be memorable.
Okay.
The Illuminati, Sunak and melted welly boot face.
New broadcasting house with
See, like that's a horseshoe with the fucking church, with the circular church.
Here is your host.
Go and check the history of that. Right in the fucking shoehorn of it. The female and the male. Boom.
7 political parties, 7 leading figures who believe they have the answers to the UK's...
They got the Pugil stick. Yes, it's Pugil stick too! Let's get ready to rumble! I think that's pretty much copyrighted, but they won't hear my fucking Glaswegian voice. And in the left corner we've got a melted Wellington boot. And in the right corner we've got a small miniature Roland rat. Then we've got Rude Ralph, the old kid's toy from back in the day, Nigel Vadge. Then we'll get some other people who really nobody knows their name, but one of them looks like Xavier.
To all of you watching and to our live audience here in the BBC Radio Theatre at Broadcasting House in London. With less than 4 weeks to polling day, the parties with us tonight are here because of their performance in recent elections and their standing in opinion polls. The invitation was for leaders or leading figures to take part. And tonight, the 7 debaters with us are...
Remember,
for the Conservatives, Penny Mordaunt,
like.
the Leader of the House of Commons.
Get shits and giggles
the Leader
for this
of Reform
crap.
UK, Nigel Farage.
Wow, there's Rude Ralph. Oh,
Rena
should be a skirt on.
The Leader of Plaid Cymru, the Party of Wales. Carla Denyer, co-leader of the Green Party of England and Wales. The Liberal Democrats, Deputy Leader Daisy Cooper. And the Scottish National Party's Westminster Leader Stephen
and
Flynn.
Peanut. Right, so we've got Teeth and Peanut. I missed the other one. I was too busy Googling pictures of Rainer in a skirt.
To decide their position on stage, and they stand before an audience who have been chosen by the pollsters Savanta. They come from many different backgrounds, reflecting voters from across Great Britain. They include supporters of the 7 parties represented here, as well as some undecided voters. They may come to this with strong views, or they may find themselves persuaded by something they hear from the stage.
Oh, get the Pugil stick
here in the next 90 minutes will
contenders ready!
Make sure all 7 get their
Politicians ready!
Journalists and other representatives of the parties are gathered in our spin room, where there will be reaction to
they don't want to make a kebab fucking delivery driver
won't to the first
fucking know
of
what
tonight's questions. And
country's in, never mind fucking what I'm saying.
As we celebrate D-Day and remember those like my father and so many others who served this country so well, how will the parties ensure our army is ready and our country is safe from another major conflict?
Oh, that isn't planted. There we go already, man. Roll up, roll up, roll up. Die in the name of the war with Russia. Thank you very much, man. I love the BBC. It ain't orchestrated. Dude, I don't know about you, see, but it bounces into my mind as Fantasia. And all the wee, like, and yeah, fucking McBrainstein.
Thank you, Mr. Gottesman. And let me turn first to
Thank you, Francis, and thank you to all those that have served in our armed forces and continue to do so in what is a very, insecure world at the moment.
Man.
First of all, Labour's
committed Doberman, I know you're not a fan, but fucking hell, man, you want to kick that out of bed for farting.
In the climate
Maybe
that
crumbs.
we're in, which means we will keep our nuclear deterrent, that we will make sure that the 4 submarines are built in Barrow, and that we will continue with the upgrades. We will have a commitment to the 2.5% spending of GDP, which obviously is very important. And I think one of the other things...
It's not very important. It's not very important when you've got a bunch of fucking dogs or pigs or whatever at the trough, man, and the competition is to see who can fucking keep that 2.5% while pointing at Russia and they're up at 7% or something like that, churning out the fucking tanks and all that. But NATO, the collective, is all meant to raise up to 2.5%. There's a dog in the fight to make sure that fucking there's a threat to fucking have to adjust your GDP. Don't pay it in hospital. Don't look after the old. You need tanks. You know, and then then there's the argument: is the threat real? Are they both in on it? You know, that's an argument to be had, by the way. Definitely, but on the other hand, get a skirt on and get her out.
It's a real scandal at the moment, is our armed forces and the accommodation that they're given. So we will look at that issue as well. We want to make sure that everyone has secure, decent homes in the UK.
Houses, not howitzers.
Well, the Liberal Democrats are the party of Paddy Ashdown, so
it
won't surprise you to know that we take defence very seriously. So first of all, we would maintain the nuclear deterrent that we have. An absolute priority for us is reversing
oh
the
my lord, right, can I just make this this genuinely is noteworthy. Straight off the bat, everybody's straight into fucking getting nuclear, and it isn't cocks this time, it's nuclear bombs with missiles.
Which has happened under the Conservatives. We would increase spending on defence year on year in the next Parliament with the ambition of reaching 2.5% by the end of the next Parliament. Having decent homes for our veterans and for our armed forces is incredibly important. I'm very proud of the fact that it was a Liberal Democrat amendment that tried to make sure that that every single home met the decent home standard. It was only because this general election was called that particular piece of legislation fell, but it's a priority for us in the next Parliament.
Nigel Farage, Reform UK.
Well, Francis, you're right to ask the question. We're spending less on defence than we were in the last year of the Labour government. Pro rata, the army has shrunk from 100,000 to 72,000. Recruitment is catastrophic. So rather than having a weird concept of national service where 30,000 youngsters would do a year, we need to recruit 30,000 people into the army full-time. And yes, the veterans point's been made already. Respect our veterans, including those with the average age of 100 who were deserted by the Prime Minister in Normandy yesterday, which I think was a complete and utter disgrace and shows us we actually have a very unpatriotic Prime Minister. It was dreadful.
But Penny Mordaunt, can you respond to that? Rishi Sunak leaving the D-Day commemorations before the end of the day?
What happened was completely wrong, and the Prime Minister has rightly apologised for that, apologised to veterans, but also to all of us, because he was representing all of us. I'm from Portsmouth. I've also been Defence Secretary, and my wish at the end of this week is that all of our veterans feel completely treasured. And I'm hoping tonight to convince you of some things that are important to them, important to their legacy. And I couldn't do that if I wasn't straight with you on that issue.
Would you have left D-Day early?
I didn't go to D-Day. I think what happened was very wrong. I think the Prime Minister has apologised for that. But what I also think is important is we honour their legacy. They fought for our freedom. Unless we are spending the right amount on defence, we can't honour that legacy. The baseline for our equipment programme is 2.5%. If you're not committed to spending that over the period it needs to be spent, you are not funding defence. And I have to just mention also, the cornerstone of our defence is our nuclear deterrent. And you need more than submarines, sailors and warheads to deliver that. You need credibility. And it's too late for Labour on credibility. Angela Rayner voted recently, along with the guy that wants to be your foreign secretary and half the Labour front bench, to end our nuclear deterrent. If you're doubting that they would use that force, and she might be Prime Minister in 4 or 5 years' time, if you are doubting that she or David Lammy or Keir Starmer would use that, imagine what Putin is thinking. Without credibility, we become a target. If we become a target, you are less safe. It's too late for this generation of Labour politicians. That credibility is shot. Do not vote these people in.
Angela Rayner, would you like to respond to that?
Penny, you can keep pointing at me, but you're the party that have cut the armed forces, crashed the economy and left us in a real mess. Keir has been absolutely clear. I am absolutely clear. We will keep our nuclear deterrent and we will invest in it into the future.
It doesn't matter what you're prepared to spend.
Clear on that.
It doesn't matter how many submarines you stand next to and have your photograph taken. If your foe does not believe that you will use these weapons, the deterrent is gone. Well, and that's the position you're in. Serious stuff. This is what will happen if you elect these people.
We've become a laughing stock internationally because of your party. Keir Starmer has changed the Labour Party. We're very clear on our #1 priority is to protect.
Let me bring in some more parties on this question.
My brother was served in Iraq. I won't be lectured.
I'm
absolutely committed to the security of our country.
Then you're not better informed.
The question, Mr. Gottesman's question was, how will the parties ensure our army is ready and our country is safe from another major conflict? Carla Denyer, how would the Green Party ensure that?
Well, first of all, I want to say we all owe a huge debt to our veterans, those from D-Day and those from conflicts since. And it's...
First of all, I would like to say, Kumbaya. Get your green brandy Jesus sandals on the way out.
A tragedy that so many veterans then often struggle in life. There's high rates of homelessness, and that's something that's a high priority for myself and the Greens to tackle. In terms of defence more broadly, this election is about choosing what kind of country we want to be. And of course, part of that is security. We live in uncertain and dangerous times with war on our European borders and major threats from cyber attacks that don't care about geographical boundaries. The threats should not be underestimated. But the biggest threat facing the UK and the world is climate change. And militaries, interestingly, are taking this threat extremely seriously.
So in answer
because
to
they
the
know...
question, how do you ensure our army is ready? Do you not want to see the size of the army grow? And you do not want to see defence spending go up to 2.5% of GDP?
Well, let's look for a moment at why we're talking about that number. As members of NATO, we are rightly asked to contribute a fair amount towards the defence budget. That's totally fair enough for NATO to ask for that. But the UK is already contributing the 2% that NATO asks. That doesn't mean, however, that we couldn't be spending that money more effectively. And as Greens, we're clear that investing in tackling climate threat, the biggest threat facing humanity, as militaries all over the world are already doing, because they recognise that if not tackled adequately, it will increase conflict over water, for example, increase famine, and create millions of refugees.
Let me turn then to Stephen Flynn
My
of the
God, what a
SNP.
fucking
The nuclear
retard.
deterrent, the submarines are based
Sorry,
in Scotland.
You
You
didn't
are
do it
against
really well
maintaining the nuclear deterrent, though.
Yes, absolutely. And our party's had a very long-standing tradition
Oh,
in
it's
respect
Peanut.
of that, because we believe that money can be
Hey,
best
Peanut.
spent in conventional defence forces. And what we've seen in Europe over the course of recent years is
got
that
fucking
how
peanut and a
absolutely vital
cocktail stick.
conventional defence forces are. But may I just return to the original question and thank Francis for his father's contribution. We need to be standing with our veterans. We need to make sure that our military is fully funded and that we have more people serving and that we look after them when they
the gold bars are on me.
Just finally on the Prime Minister.
Every politician's a fucking Milky Bar kid.
His own political career before public service is no Prime Minister at all. A Prime Minister who puts his own political career before
election,
Normandy war veterans is
they're
no
all
Prime
Milky
Minister
Bars are
at
on
all.
me.
So it's incumbent upon all of us to do our
and then
national
after
service
Erection,
and vote the Tories
different
out
story.
of office.
Brina Purworth of Plaid Cymru.
Yesterday was a sobering day again, wasn't it, in remembering the sacrifice made on the beaches of Normandy. It certainly wasn't a day for state photo ops, as we saw from
I raised £100,000. I raised £100,000 for the London Taxi Charity to send veterans back to Normandy. That's why I was there. Thank you.
And it certainly wasn't a day for a Prime Minister to decide, as Stephen said, that his priority should be to fight for his own political future. We have a proud record in Wales of sending young men and women to the armed forces, and we need to make sure that the armed forces are properly funded for conventional deterrence and peacekeeping, and we need to look after those young people when they leave the armed forces with so many problems in housing and mental health issues and so on. But we
imagine any of these fucks turned up and actually spoke about what people wanted to speak about.
£200 billion on a new nuclear deterrent.
Imagine.
Penny Mordaunt, to come back to you, I mean, clearly there's been a lot of comment already about the Prime Minister in D-Day and that it amounting to no presence at all.
As people ask proper questions.
How did you feel when you realised that he had attended the British event and other parts of the day, but he left before the international event at the end of the day?
Look, I think what happened was very wrong, and I'm glad the Prime Minister has said that, and he's apologised. He's apologised to veterans, but I think he also has apologised to everyone because he was there representing us. And what I hope is that our veterans will feel treasured and their families will feel treasured at the end of this week. I don't want this issue to become
pretty sure she's a character on Thundercats.
because I think that does them a
Well, it already is. It already is because the veterans themselves are speaking out saying he's let the country down. And to say that it's a mistake, if his instinct was the same as the British people, he would never have contemplated for a moment not being there for the big international ceremony. And it shows how disconnected he is with the people of this country.
He's apologised.
I think what we saw from the Prime Minister was panic, and I think it's the same pre-election panic that gave us that back of a fag packet plan for a new national service, which those in the armed forces have said that wouldn't be workable, let alone what it means about what the Prime Minister thinks of our young people in this country.
Let's be clear about what happened yesterday. It was not only politically shameful, but I think many of us feel personally quite insulted. I started yesterday morning watching a recording made by the Royal Mint
with a
of my
mouth
late grandfather
of normal proportions.
Where he recounts
then
catching his best friend who fell from the top of a Sherman tank.
It looked made at the end of the day went on. I looked like I swallowed a melon.
Water, he recounted in his words, men blown to pieces, hands, legs, and heads.
Well, now you're repeating
If he had
that
been
shit.
there yesterday and seen the Prime Minister walk away from him, I would have found that completely, as I do now, find it completely and utterly unforgivable.
Thank you very much for the responses. That was our first question. Let us turn now to our second, and it comes from Ishani Rudra.
I'm about to start studying medicine at the University of Manchester. How will the parties ensure I can graduate into a fully functioning NHS?
Thank you, Ishani. So just about to start studying medicine at Manchester University.
Chinese spies, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, first of all, really good luck. I hope it goes incredibly well. We need lots of people signing up and studying
Do you want
to
your
become
watermelon
medics
bit?
and our NHS staff of the future. Look, under the Conservatives, our health and social care services have been driven into the ground. And the Liberal Democrats have a very clear plan as to how to fix this. We're going to fix the front door to the NHS with 8,000 more GPs, giving you a guarantee of an appointment within 7 days. We're going to put
Does
an end
anybody
to
remember
dental
the
visits.
exact
We'll have a
same
mental health
crash
community
when
hub
Tony Blair
in
was
every
getting...
single community, and we've made a very bold pledge to fix and to offer
every
free
day,
personal
this is my
care.
memory.
That means you
And
can
every
see,
day
you
ever
can get the help
since
you need when you need it, We can fix the back end to the NHS by making sure that if you need to leave hospital, there will be care.
A gold bar when you need it, means tested and lived up.
Out in our manifesto exactly how
My
every
friend,
single
my
pledge
family
is going
friend
to be funded, but we've said right across the piece, across all of our policies,
by my
we
family
will
friends,
not tax
Lib
struggling
company.
families during a cost of living crisis, but we will be looking to those really big companies raking in billions of pounds of profits to support struggling families and to fix our public services.
Health
Yeah,
is, of course,
we're going to ask Google for
devolved
fucking
to the
breast
UK
milk.
nation. Stephen Flynn, you are in, your party is in charge of health in Scotland. It is a time of record
Don't wanna give
waits
them
and
ideas, actually.
and high numbers of people waiting, for example, 12 hours or more in A&E or 24 months for treatment. How would you ensure that Ishani graduates into a fully functioning NHS?
Yes, well, Ishani, good luck.
Well,
to start with, as someone who was under the care of the NHS from the age
if you're
of
allergic
14
to peanuts,
32,
please
because
do
I
not
was
come
a
near
disabled
me.
man, and I physically wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the wonderful treatment that I received from the NHS. I know what it is to live in chronic pain, and I know what it is to have that chronic pain.
Told you he was a peanut.
It's only thanks to the NHS that
And
happened,
the
which
NHS
is why in Scotland we don't just have
resurrected
record
them.
funding, we don't just have the best paid nursing staff, we don't have no strikes, we don't have a single NHS strike in Scotland, and of course we do have some of the best performing NHS levels in Scotland as well. But given that you're going to university to study medicine, I think it's also important to remind everyone in this audience the difference between the SNP and the Westminster parties, because in SNP-controlled Scotland, you wouldn't pay a single penny in tuition fees for your studies. What a difference that would make to your education and your future.
Do you accept that you have record waits for treatment at the moment, and that there are very high numbers of people waiting 24 months or waiting sometimes as long as 24 hours?
No, I'm a peanut.
And indeed, nobody would seek to dismiss the challenges which exist in our NHS right across these aisles, primarily driven through two issues. One, the backlog from...
Right, okay, so he just told us how great it was, now he's getting told how shite it was, and now he's like, well, here's a wee bit more bullshit.
COVID, but secondly, the austerity agenda, which is impacting us from Westminster and has done over the course of the last 14 years.
The wrong side of the bed this morning.
£80 of cuts coming down the line,
and that
agreed
really
to by Angela
up.
Rayner and Penny Mordaunt. The Tories and the Labour both know that they're going to cut public sector investment to come, and that's going to have dramatic consequences on the NHS in the devolved nations, because as Wes Streeting himself said, when it comes to NHS waiting times, all roads lead back to Westminster. It's why the cuts that are coming down the line aren't acceptable, and it's why the Labour Party need to change their stance.
Angela Rayner, cuts coming down the line?
Well, that's not true, because we've said that we'd end the non-dom loophole.
Are you disagreeing with the IFS, Angela?
We would end the non-dom loophole so that we can bring that money in and have 40,000 new appointments every week.
But you're familiar with what Stephen is referring to. It's the IFS saying that both of your parties are not being honest because of the promises that you've made to bring debt down.
We're going to invest more in the NHS. And then, Ashani, thank you for studying in Manchester. I'm biased, but I'd say it's the greatest city. But I do think that there is an issue that since the Tories took power, I was a home care worker and I represented public sector workers across the Northwest and nationally, and the decimation of the social care services and the infrastructure around community services has actually not only left us without that community care, but it costs more in the NHS. Far too many people, especially our older generation, we've just been talking about D-Day and our veterans, they're on trolleys for hours on end not getting the care they need, but it costs more money to do that. So we would put home care services in, it costs less to do that, and we would have 40,000 new appointments every week in the NHS by making sure we close that non-dom tax loophole. The
non-dom is not going to close the £18 billion fiscal gap which the Institute for Fiscal Studies says exists. There is a conspiracy of silence between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party in relation to this. You need to explain to the public how you are going to close that gap without making NHS services worse.
We have been very clear that we're going to look
at
efficiencies as well, so we can have technologies. We would have technologies that will come in. We all know that would help. We said about closing the non-dom tax loophole, which would give us more appointments, whether that's through dentistry, GP, and with hospital appointments. We have the record number of waiting lists in the country now, and all roads lead to the Tories and what they've done to our public services.
How is your
Look, there's the lion.
Manchester's second only to Portsmouth, and we're just about to have both a dental school and a medical school very shortly. And good luck with your studies. Your future colleagues are currently dealing with an increase in NHS workload of about 43%. That's the legacy of the pandemic that we have to deal with. So there are many things we need to do, but there are two really important things. We have to keep the budget strong. You need a strong economy to do that, and public spending is going to go up. It will go up, and for the NHS, very substantially. The only people on this platform who have ever cut the NHS budget are Labour. In Wales, they've cut it 4 times, and that's why their waiting lists are 4 times longer than they are in England.
NHS
Not only
funding
can
is going
you
down
not
when you account
afford
for ageing and
a
inflation.
Labour government, the NHS can't afford it either. But the second thing
you get one of your products on the NHS.
The number
that
of
is a
healthcare
gravy
professionals we
train.
have. We have been doing that. We have 70,000 more nurses, for example. But we need to retain people in the service. We've got to take the stress off people, but we also have to remove barriers to them continuing
You do
in
acknowledge, don't you,
Labour's
that the
plans
pandemic is not
to tax
completely
your
part of
future
waiting
pension,
lists. They were rising.
senior
So we can
nurses and
dish out
doctors is going to get healthcare
more
professionals
gravy
to leave the
trains.
service. That is going
So these
to lead
cunts
to more waiting
I'm
lists.
not arguing about what he did, but arguing about who can
You backed Liz Truss and crashed
who
our
can
economy.
skim off
You
more
made
money.
people like me redundant when we were in the home care service.
Even
Oh,
Liz
that was
Truss
a
on her
zinger.
worst day still recognised that we need a nuclear deterrent in this country, Angela.
And so
she's
do
still
I.
got the edge
And
on
so
you.
do I.
But your sums do not add up.
We need to
Your
hear.
sums
We need to hear
do
some
not
more
add up.
parties. Penny Morton, I'm going to go to Rena Purworth next.
I'm going to be very nice with Ashani. My life may be in your hands one day, but thank you for studying medicine and do enjoy it. I mean, I have a privilege of speaking for Wales here this evening, but hopefully what I say will have relevance for people wherever they are in the UK.
Never get out with your eyeballs
I
are
think one thing
sweating.
you want is an assurance about what kind of NHS we will have in future. And my party is absolutely clear. The NHS should and must remain free at the point of need. Another key principle for me and Plaid Cymru is that no profit should be taken out of the NHS. We will not consider ever privatising the NHS, something that, of course, the Conservatives want to do, but remarkably, Labour are happy to see privatisation within the NHS now too. But, you know, we in Wales have had a double whammy. We've had the impact of the cuts of austerity that absolutely comes down to hitting public services, education and health and everything, plus a very badly managed NHS by Labour in Wales.
I do want to point out that you were in a cooperation agreement with Welsh Labour until very recently, until just a few weeks ago, and we have record waiting lists in Wales.
And the NHS was in no way a part of that cooperation agreement because we do not agree with Labour's approach on the NHS in Wales. My job as an opposition member is to persuade them to make some bold decisions to take us on the right direction. But you know what? You need more than anything, Ashani, is assurance that
do you know what?
sustainability will be built in for the workforce
Look,
within the NHS. Workforce planning,
see here.
giving you the support through your pay packet,
What is doing
and
the
all those
magic
other
wand?
means that show that you are valued as a health worker.
Okay, Nigel Farage.
Whether it's Labour-run Wales or SNP-run Scotland or Conservative-run England, we all know that whilst you can get great care, the NHS model isn't working. You can't get GP appointments, things that we've all grown up taking for granted. And they can argue about, it's all money. I'm going to spend more money. You're going to spend more money. It doesn't work. Just a few years ago, we were spending 7.5% of the national cake on the NHS. We're now spending over 11% of the national cake on the NHS.
So the answer to Ashani's question, how would you ensure she graduates into a fully
That's
functioning
more than the
NHS?
military
NHS
industrial
answer it.
complex. Bear
Because
that in
the
mind.
more money we spend, the less delivery we get, which means the model is wrong.
It's getting
The model through
subsidised.
which we fund health is wrong.
So
And I would
this is
suggest-
Nigel telling us
and I
he
would
doesn't
suggest-
believe in the NHS. This is what he's doing. He's telling the public he does not believe in the NHS.
No,
a
I'm telling
national
you,
treasure.
I'm telling
you
you
want
the
to
funding
privatise
model,
it. That is what you want to do.
and you in Scotland, of all
Rehearsed.
places, I mean, look, the NHS is very badly run.
Argument.
Let's change the funding
We'll
model.
not be
Here's
Would you
taking
like more
any lectures
private?
from
You'd
you,
like more
Nigel.
private
We want to invest
healthcare?
in our NHS, not crush it.
let's change the model. Now, the NHS, it isn't funded through national insurance. That's a nonsense. It goes into the pot. There are countries right next door
Exactly.
to us. There's one country,
There's no
France,
ring fence
that has a
shit.
very, very different way of funding the NHS. It's rather like those that can afford, through their taxes, pay into an insurance scheme. Those that can't afford it don't pay in, so it's for the mutual benefit of everybody, and it's managed as if it was a private company, and their returns on stroke,
Cha-ching.
heart and cancer are better than ours for exactly the same sum of money.
The King's
we
Foundation.
get a fully functioning NHS.
The King's Foundation.
If we spend our money
which is a
properly, and we're not spending our money properly, and that's the point.
Daisy, you'll have to make it very brief because I need to get to Carla
The Hill Foundation and the King's Fund have done an analysis of different funding models. They don't materially make a difference to people's health outcomes.
I want my
What makes a big
watermelon
difference most of all
back.
Is the amount of money you put into your health service.
And the Green Party.
And
no,
independent
no.
experts say.
It works. Let's learn from it.
I'd like to hear from Carla Denyer on this.
And the Green Party, the party that's ready to be honest about the need for investment, because Ishani, you're quite right to ask the question, and thank you for stepping into this important vocation. The NHS has been.
She looks like the Riddler if Batman was to make a remake nowadays. The gay woman Riddler.
Agree about that, but the answer is not, as the Conservatives and, surprisingly, Labour think, to
Riddle me this!
multinational
Riddle me
companies
that!
further into our National Health Service. The answer is investment and protecting our NHS.
And the money
You want us to believe
Well, we announced our health and social care policy just yesterday.
rich people are
£30 billion increase in funding for our health
investing
services,
in their children.
20 billion on social care, and it's really important that we
Have
understand
long
how
empires
closely
and
those
all
are
that,
linked, because if we have
because they want
better
to kill
social
the
care,
planet.
it takes the pressure off the NHS.
Riddle me that.
And a one-off £20 billion capital investment.
These are large
fix
sums.
Are crumbling.
They come from where?
They come from reforming the tax system.
What an annoying
the UK tax system is unbelievably unfair. It puts more onus on.
Oh my god, she sounds like somebody off a Loose Woman. What an annoying fucking spokeshole.
Some adjustments to that system.
And she does look like fucking Riddler.
Who can most easily afford to pay quite a modest amount, and that will provide.
The gay Riddler, look, she's stumbling. She's stumbling over her gay Riddler-ish words.
Next question, and this one comes from Lorenzo Barba.
Where I live in Essex, I'm struggling to find a house. I've noticed the roads are busier, and it's almost...
What about a dentist, mate?
I think immigration is partly to blame. What are the parties going to do about immigration?
Thank you very much, Lorenzo, for that. And I'm going to turn first to Stephen Flynn.
So I accept the premise
Stephen
of what you're saying in respect
Flynn.
to your area. I'm afraid I don't know it very well.
Flynn.
But let me say a few interests,
funny
particularly to some members of this panel. Migration
make me
is
remember his name.
absolutely essential to our public services. It's absolutely essential to our businesses, and it's absolutely essential to our economic growth. And what we need to do is end the demonisation of migration. In Scotland, we have a declining working age population despite a net number of people moving from the rest of the UK to Scotland.
Despite my boys being full. You're peanut. Oh, look at that for a picture. What's that? It's a peanut with a kiss. It's like a salty peanut. Or is the salty peanut?
Scotland. We need migrants. And this race to the bottom on migration, driven by Nigel Farage, followed by the Conservative Party, and hotly chased by the Labour Party, does not serve Scotland's interests. And it does not serve your interests either. So rise up against it. Do as Keir Starmer did in 2020 and talk about the benefits of migration, its importance to our fundamental aspects of life.
To be clear, any voter in Scotland who wants lower immigration should vote for other parties.
I think any voter in Scotland who wants to impact our economy, impact our NHS, should vote for the parties who want to cut migration, which is the Labour Party, the Conservative Party and Nigel Farage. And this is a consequence of us being led down the garden path by the right wing in British politics for far too long. We need to stand against it. We need to promote our economy, promote our public services, and to do so by promoting migration.
Oh, he's a little fucking peanut Hitler.
Nigel Farage.
Well, I mean, I'm on a platform tonight with 6
Peanut
other people
Hitler.
whose parties have been wholly unconcerned with the issue of immigration. They think that to even question it somehow makes you a bad person. Let's get back to Lorenzo's question. Let's deal with some logic, shall we? From the end of the 1940s
a novelty for you.
until Mr. Blair got to power, listen to the numbers. You probably don't know them. For 50 years, net migration into Britain was 30 to 40,000 a year. Then Tony Blair gets in. decides to open the doors. We get net migration for the period of the Labour government of 2.7 million people come in that period. Then we get the Conservatives, elected in 2010, 2015,
that voice was a
2017,
pain in
telling
the
us
arse.
they'll reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year, 4.3
PoliTITS
million.
aside,
The Conservatives
fucking
have led
horrible.
Most of those that come in are not directly productive members of the economy. Most
Yeah,
of
they're
those who come
stinky
are
brown
practically
cunts.
independents. And Lorenzo, the truth of it is, this ought to be the immigration election.
Says
Whether we
Rude
talk
Ralph.
about housing, whether we talk about the facts that rents are up between 20 and 30% in most of the country in the last 4 years,
That's
whether
the
we
whole
talk
point.
about the roads, whether we talk about infrastructure, we are living through a population crisis, an increase of 10 million people since Mr. Blair came to power, and frankly, it's making us poorer, it is diminishing our quality of life, and it's nothing to do with race or any of those issues. It's to do with actually putting the interests of our communities first. We need to get net migration, and that means, by the way, people come and people go. We need to get net migration down to an even figure for the next few years, and maybe then we can hope to catch up with housing, with health, and many of those things.
Most of those coming to the UK today are on work visas or are international students.
About 50% of those that come are dependents. Whether they're coming with work
But the rules
visas,
are changing.
family,
The rules are changing.
family reunions. We've even had under the Conservatives students coming and bringing their mum. The whole thing's been
You've had a say on this. Can I turn to?
Calm down, Peanut.
Nigel Farage wants to make this an immigration election for his own
Who
self-interest.
the fuck's this sheep shagger? Shut up, you fucking Welsh prick.
Immigration, you know, too much of it is framed around.
Is he speaking English?
People like Nigel Farage.
Is that the best you can do?
Penny Mordaunt can't stand up to Nigel Farage because she wants her party to be like Nigel Farage.
They're the opposite.
Angela Rayner can't stand up to Nigel Farage because of the shift in her party to the right.
Because she's got a big vag.
She
She is sexy as fuck.
Of course we need rules.
Imagine talking PoliTITS with Big
Of course
Lena.
we need rules
You'd be
on
loving it.
borders. Wales controlled its own borders during COVID. That's what countries do. But we need those around your proper processing of...
Shut up, earlugs. Is that not that fucking Lee Evans, the comedian? Big sweaty cunt.
Flights. We need safe passage into this country, and we need to...
Is this Lee Evans? Shut up, you sweaty bastard.
Our care system and our economy.
Go back to doing bad comedy. And the only funny thing is you're sweating.
Charge of broken promises from your party on immigration.
Well, look, this might be an immigration election, but it is definitely going to
What
be
lion
a cost of
died
living
for her
election.
haircut? That's
And
what I want to know.
one thing that we can do to help the gentleman who asked the question is about ensuring that you keep more of your money. We will cut your taxes. Labour will put your taxes up.
Was that the
if
question?
you having more agency, being able to get onto the property ladder, that is the
Penny Mordaunt, I am going to remind you of the question. Lorenzo's question.
Just with regard
the problems that he set out. He said, I think immigration is partly to blame.
Yeah, well,
What
I'm
are the parties
vag.
going to do about immigration?
So immigration is too high. And
Keep
what
them
we need
in-
to do
keep them on
is
fucking track.
a balance between some of the issues that have been raised already. The best way to do this is to get
She's
Parliament,
rude,
your
closed up.
Parliament elected
Who do you
by
mean has that?
to
I
have
kind
an
of
annual
hope get
cap.
it.
What that will do is take into account the
Who,
economic
Denny?
needs, the needs of the
Who's
workforce,
got nice
but
titters?
also the
Rayner?
pressures that immigration puts on communities, as the question made very clear.
Rayner's
That will be
beautiful,
informed by
man.
experts, but it will be Parliament that
What?
decides. And
She
because
is,
the
look
numbers
at
are
that.
too
That's a
high,
beautiful
over the next
specimen
few
of a
years, you
female
can see
man.
It will come down. That is a clear plan.
Our
a clear
PoliTITS
guarantee. We've already ended the
aside,
movement, we've done many
who the
things.
fuck is a
That is the
beautiful
logical
specimen
next
of a
step.
woman?
That's what you get with us.
That colour of
Unlike
hair
Labour,
and-
who have no
especially
plan,
in the
they have
world
no
of
target,
politics.
They have no clue. They haven't done any of the work on the workforce. They've had 14 years to work this out. They have nothing to offer you. Controlled numbers
I
and a
think I've
cap
got a real
under us,
fucking mad
or
weird dent
uncontrolled
in my
immigration under the Labour Party.
How have you got
And
the front to say that?
let's let Angela Rayner respond to that charge of having no plan. Your party's only said that there'll be a significant cut, but there are no numbers, no time frame attached to that.
I mean, I love the spin on that. that. 14 years and you failed, trebled net migration figures.
She's better when she doesn't talk. I like the accent, I know the lisp.
Roads and GPs and non-public services is decimation that the Tories have done to our public services.
Your leader campaigned for free movement.
Yeah! Get her out for underneath that podium, let's see her legs.
Movement. These guys are not going to control immigration.
And we've said that the Rwanda scheme, look, yesterday, 300
Look
people
how
arrived, and about one was a
staged
6-month-old
these
baby. They could have
retorts
died
are.
going over the crossing. We've said we need a new border command. We would scrap the Rwanda scheme, which would have been 300 for the whole year, by the way.
The one in red. That's Raynor, mate. With the big lovely auburn her hair and all that.
A border force command, which will be able to smash the gangs, because we need to do that. And 14 years.
Would you want the Labour Tory or the Conservative Tory? They're right next to each other. They're a fucking weird lioness or this wee bit of thing. Wears fucking fishnets and all that.
Gaps and make sure that we have people in those jobs. People come to this country and they're propping up many of our services.
They come to our country. They come to our country.
Is that Labour wants more and more to talk the language.
You shut up, pal. Nobody even knows who you are, apart from a Lee Evans fucking Welsh-sounding lookalike. Who pisses he?
From Carla Denyer and from Daisy Cooper.
Pooper! Oh, no. Hold on, if we get a question for Pooper. Please tell me I didn't mishear that. I want a question for Pooper. We've got to have a Pooper question.
Talking about houses, roads and GPs. We need to build 150,000 social...
You give me my watermelon, my melon slice back, bitch.
...a year to tackle the crisis in our house.
There it's there.
The roads are in a mess because the Conservatives have cut local authority budgets between 25 and 40%. That's why public services are on their knees. And the Conservatives promised that the last general
who's on their knees? I'm hearing what I hear. What? On my knees, Raynor?
Right across our country. That's why our public services are on their knees.
So
and
is
that's
he
why
wrong to say
that on my knees, Raynor?
blame?
Quick, focus in on Raynor.
Actually, it's to do with the Conservative choices, because at the same time as eroding all of that investment, they've made choices to give a tax cut to the big banks. But on the issue of immigration, I would say the Conservatives have made a complete mess, both of migration system, but also of the asylum system. And we have the worst of both worlds. We have people who are desperate, who are fleeing war and persecution, arriving on small boats, and at the same time we have our NHS, our social care, we have hospitality and engineering. None of them.
Rebel saying the lisp is a bit off-putting. Listen, it is a bit off-putting, but we don't need to say it out loud. There is only one remedy. So, off-putting, but also a red rag to a fucking big hard-on
Can
do.
recruit the staff that they need with the skills to boost our economy. So Liberal Democrats have said on care in particular, we should give care workers a higher minimum wage, £2 higher, invest in our care workers, give them status, give them progression in the workforce. And then when we still have skills gaps, invite people in from other countries and welcome them when they come.
Okay. Carla Denyer, what would the Green Party...
The rebel is how you look at it. It's how you frame these things, mate. You see a lisp like that, well, a bit off-putting. I see a lisp like that, that's a hurdle. Hold on, man, this is meant to be up-brown fucking PoliTITS.
Party do about immigration?
First of all, reflecting back to what Nigel Farage said, how cold-hearted do you have to be to not want people who are coming here on work visas to be able to bring their husbands or wives or in...
Ooh, I want Jim Carrey to bounce in, man, and start hitting us with some riddles. I genuinely, like... Oh, man, that would be superb.
...infant children with them. The Green Party takes...
would not...
Riddle me this! Riddle me that! There has been climate change before, with the other ice ages and all that. So riddle me this, riddle me that! why is it all of a sudden it's me and you and all that shit that's doing it now? Riddle me this. See, I think that would be a coup.
The Green Party takes a totally different approach to immigration.
Yep, we want to grow them. We say bring in the brown people, chop them up into little seedlings, then we'll fucking plant them, shit on them, and buy them biodegressively.
When it's hard to get an affordable home, when it's hard to access public services like a GP, when the roads are poorly maintained, I can absolutely understand, Lorenzo, why you're angry about these things. I am too. But I am clear that the reason for these services being run into the ground is not people coming here, whether they're coming here fleeing violence and persecution as asylum seekers, or whether they're coming here to work in many
You come in here,
health and social care.
You steal all our solar panels.
Frankly, to be treating you.
Oh my God, she's just there to make a Sunak here. Oh no, I just realised. Oh, sorry, I've just looked at Sunak isn't there, and either is melted belly face.
For this country, and so in the Green Party, our immigration policy is not about arbitrary numbers. With that,
her voice is very. See if you've got earbuds in, man, you hear everything kind of like in high definition. And it's like it was like a Jewish grandma, I think.
Page, our colleagues at BBC Verify are fact-checking the claims that are made here on stage. And
yes, that bitch does indeed look like she's from Gotham City.
Let's turn with that to our next question, which is from Suzanne Ollerton.
True. We just fact-checked that from our retards in the box.
We've got good jobs and we're not eligible for benefits. Our lifestyle isn't extravagant. What we earn goes on gas, electricity.
But we're still fucked. People in suits keep telling me wages have went up, the standard of living went through the roof and all that. And I'm sitting here like, here my granda used to be able to have a family of like fucking 99 million wains on one wage. Something's not adding up here, Einstein.
Mortgage and food. We are working to survive, not live. This isn't sustainable. Who will change things for working people?
Thank you, Suzanne, for your question. Rena Pureworth.
Change is a key word. It's a change election, isn't it? The sadness is there'll be a change in Downing Street. I'm quite sure that Keir Starmer will become the Prime Minister in 4 weeks' time. But what
and by the sounds of things, you're getting your dick whapped off as well.
change does that represent? I will always argue that you need a plurality of voices making the case for exactly what you're looking for. What are the answers when you have two parties converging on public spending?
That guy takes too much coke or speed, didn't he?
Converging on taxation. Who's going to make sure that you're able to see the investment?
He's asking questions and then answering them even before he's kind of finished asking them.
In housing for your children, to see the investment in
Who's going to do that? I'm going to do with the Labour Party. Who's going to worry about it? The Labour Party are fucking worrying about
getting rid of the two-child benefit cap in order for parents to be able to look after their children and take children out of
He
poverty.
just wants his next line.
I believe that the real frustration in this election is the lack of change on offer from the Labour Party. Whether you liked him or not, there was a feeling. I was still working as a journalist back in the 90s when Tony Blair came in. At least there was a feeling of something different happening. I'm just not sensing that, which is why we in Plaid Cymru say the Tories are gone. Labour are going to come into power. But let's, for goodness sake, make sure that people who feel ignored, as you do, are heard by that Labour Party when they came in, because change has to mean something. And that's what's
England
Angela Rayner,
for the
Rena
English
Pureworth
and
charges
Scotland
that
first.
change is not really going to come.
Hashtag, I'm a unionist, mate.
No vote cast for this general
oh,
election, and
hold on.
Susanna, absolutely
I'm a
understand what you're saying. The cost of
Rayner-nist
living, you
right
can't
now.
escape what's happened, and Liz Truss crashed the economy, which sent mortgages going sky high. We've been at the mercy of the global energy prices, and therefore energy prices have gone significantly high for people, and also food prices. So Labour's first plan and priority is to secure...
Right, come on, bitch. Now I really do want to stick a dick in your mouth, man, to stop your lisp and your bullshit. The reason the energy prices went through the roof is because we fucking NATO, EU, America... The list goes on and on. People with a lot of dogs in the fight picked a fight with Russia and Ukraine. Picked a fight and started a fight through Maidan. I don't even want to go through it all again, man. It will raise my blood pressure for no good reason other than to state what's there for everybody to see if you've got a memory longer. A goldfish.
The economy. We will never go fast and loose with public finances because it's working people who are paying the price for that. And Great British Energy, which is putting a windfall tax on the big oil and gas companies, which will allow us to set up the publicly owned energy company, which will give taxpayers money back, bring down bills and make us secure for our energy needs for the future and create thousands of jobs here in the UK. That is real change. That's how we'll deliver an economy that works for working people. And the Tories should never be allowed to forget that the reason they're in the cost of living crisis now is because they crashed the economy and went fast and loose with the public finances.
Penny Mordaunt.
So this is what I mean.
And who crashed the economy before that? I think it was either the last couple of days at least. Easy peasy. If not today. There was a thing that used to be called Talk TV. Now, I don't even know what it is. But I clocked this thing they're doing with WhatsApp messages. And one of them was like, exactly what she said there, but from the other side. You know? And that same shit has been happening perpetually all my life. I would argue a wee bit before that. Anyway, sorry, let's get back to Sexy Arena.
This is what I mean when I say this election is about the cost of living. And
shut up, you
and many
lying.
other people have been going through. It's exhausting, and we need to bring it to an end. We have supported people through some very difficult times. That has been expensive. But we are now in the recovery. The economy is doing much better.
The recovery position, because we're on our side like KO'd like. Aye, the recovery position, hen, I get it right.
The recovery going is to give you more money in your pockets. That is why this election must be about us cutting your taxes. We have already started doing that, and you have already heard some announcements. You'll see more in our manifesto next
Denny,
week.
that means you should fuck off home, pal.
Taxes, and we have got
Denny,
to alleviate
you fuck off home, you fucking foreigner.
And the Labour Party, Keir Starmer confirmed this earlier this week. They are going to put up your taxes by £2,000.
That's a lie.
By £2,000 per working household.
Penny, your government have raised taxes to the record level in 70 years.
Yeah,
the last
we have, and we've hated putting taxes up. We have now been
cutting
taxes.
Hold on! Hold on a second, girls! I've not got the washing up liquid out yet, man. You ready? Go! Well, that isn't a good dress, man, but like, my idea of a good looking woman is very close to a hooker. Or how I would dress.
Taxes, the country can afford it.
You're using
Where am I, pimp?
Penny Mordaunt. Penny Mordaunt, you're using a figure that's been criticised by this UK.
No fucking way! I swear to God, check the wee leprechaun in the background. Did you clock it? Right, look, that's right. Oh, I think this is as fucking turned on as I've ever been with politics, ever.
The last we have, and we've hated.
Slap our waist up! Have you not got some sponges?
Putting taxes up. We have now been cutting taxes. We will continue to cut taxes. The country
Fucking get the skirts on and out from that podium.
can afford it.
You're using £2,000. Penny Morden, you're using a figure that's been criticised by this UK statistics watchdog.
Costings and Labour's
Why don't you stand by your record?
And you'll see
record level.
You want to see real politics? Go and look at the Ukrainian parliament before it the war kicked off. Go and look at what other the Georgian parliament is the most recent one I've seen. When there's actual big squads of cunts that's fighting and stuff. It's brilliant, man. Well, it means you know that they actually care about what
on
they're
working
talking about.
people.
Not this.
26
Although it is strangely kind of. I don't know. Oh. Especially that one.
In the last parliament, about 12 new taxes that Labour are going to bring in.
Tell me about 12 new ones again.
We will not raise taxes for working people in this
How
country.
are you going to close that gap? £2,000 per working household.
I'm going
Which policies are you going to take out of your manifesto? Which ones are you doing?
Take out your manifesto! Oh, hold on. I need a moment. Rainer. Take out your manifesto, hen. Rainer, there's a football chant that isn't quite happening to me.
We would pay for our manifesto.
It's time to hear from the others.
Think that was definitely meant to be a sexual innuendo fucking thing, wasn't it?
Angela Rayner, it's time to hear from the others. Carla Denia.
Well, that was terribly dignified, wasn't it?
Fuck, that was brilliant, man. Get the fuck, look, she's got a skirt on. Get them out for the podium, man, and let's talk about Rayner getting her fucking innuendo out, or a referendum, or whatever out. Yeah, just get it out, Rayner. I mean, did you see how scripted that was, right? Nobody gave a fuck, reacted, and then it was like, applause. It was like there was a big fucking shiny light.
Which policies are you going to take out of your manifesto? Which ones are you
how we would pay for our manifesto?
It's time to hear from the others. Angela Rayner, it's time to hear from the others. Carla Denia.
Well, that was terribly dignified, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. It only took about half an hour for people to start applauding. Anyways, let's get back. I missed the wee leprechaun. I'll be honest. There's probably. You're right, Doberman. I do need my home, my man.
Returning to the question.
Are you coming on to me, Doberman?
You don't have to be.
Oh man, she has got an annoying voice. She looks like a leprechaun.
An economist to see that our economy.
Doberman, fixed, my friend. Within that sort of a couple of seconds of this little green leprechaun, green leprechaun, I'm fixed. Like, I'm good for another fucking 50 years of no getting my home, mate.
Economy is not working for the majority of people. Penny is talking about a cost of living crisis, and yes, of course, that's what it is, but you might more accurately describe it as an inequality crisis, because actually some people in this country have been doing very, very well. Some people got substantially wealthier during the pandemic, while many of...
Leprechauns found her. Wait, you say in the evening, miss, wouldn't get all excited. Every woman on the stage has a full skims under their outfit. I will no doubt they're all manicured within an inch of their life. Apart from Angela Rayner, she's just a natural beauty. In the evening, miss. Hopefully you're doing all good.
The rest of us struggled. It doesn't have to be like this. We could have well-paid jobs, secure jobs, and a welfare system that really acts as the safety net we need to catch people when they fall. A green economy would create jobs.
I'm telling you right now, man, I don't know whether it's my eyes or my gaze, but Rayner's getting most visual time, which counts for a lot in these sort of scenarios, if you get me. That little leprechaun should be standing in for Sunak, because she's the same size as him.
Paid jobs distributed all over the country.
And remember, gentlemen, on a good day, there's women about in the chat. And I'm saying this to myself, try and not get carried away too much.
For example, on a nationwide home insulation programme, which would bring down everyone's bills, help with the cost of living in the here and now, give us warmer, more comfortable homes, create hundreds of thousands of green jobs.
Miss, are you on here trying to sell us stuff? I could do with one of those bodysuits. She's just got full on fucking leprechaun suit, man,
and
no doubt.
And support local businesses. And the Greens would provide a real safety net, starting with a £15 minimum wage for all ages, removing the ageist cap on young working adults, an immediate uplift to universal credit, and my final point, removing the cruel two-child benefit cap that both the Conservatives and Labour's party support, even though it holds 250,000 children down in poverty.
Thank you, Carla Denyer. Nigel Farage.
I have to say, I think a lot of working people like you feel quite resentful. The harder you work, the more taxes you pay, the less disposable income you have, and yet there are increasingly people opting just not to work, and that number has rocketed over the course of the last few years. So I understand how you feel. Your energy bills are too expensive. They have been for the last 20 years. Why? Because we load money, we load tax onto your energy bill to give to wind farm companies. It's kind of the poorer in society giving to the richer in society. Rents, cost of housing, too high. That links back to the previous question. The population explosion has made housing, whether you buy them or rents, too expensive. Reducing net migration to zero would ease that. Getting rid of those subsidies on your energy bills would ease that. But the big one's taxes. You know, even during Tony Blair's time, the top rate of tax was 40p in this country, and it was paid by 1.5 million people. By the end of 2027, 8 million people will be paying 40p tax. So we're dragging more and more people doing middle-income jobs into higher and higher taxation. And that's why life is so tough. And to hear Penny Mordaunt, whose government have put the tax burden up to the highest in this country since 1948, pretending they're a tax-cutting party, frankly, it is dishonesty on a breathtaking scale.
Stephen Flynn.
Look, I'm incredibly sorry to hear about the challenges that you've faced, and it's the same for millions of people right across these aisles, and it's simply not good. We know the damage that the Tories have caused to the economy as a result of Liz Truss's mini-budget, but I'm afraid the challenges facing the economy are much deeper than that. Firstly, there's austerity. 14 years of austerity, and I must re-emphasise the fact that there's £18 billion worth of cuts baked in, which neither the Labour Party
nor the Conservative Party have been
honest about. Instead, they're having
Tories
the worst of Westminster
Tories tend to have the best
tonight, instead of being honest with you about the fiscal outlook going forward. But there's also a conspiracy of silence on one other issue, and that's Brexit. Brexit has impacted the economy more than the COVID pandemic. It has put your food bills up completely unnecessarily. It has been an unmitigated disaster for the economy. And that is why at this election you need to ignore the snake oil salesman who delivered Brexit.
No offence, Doberman man, but I'll just remind you of one of the old Rangers fans' chants to the high bees back in the day. HIV positive, HIV positive, HIV positive, HIV positive. I'll leave it there. But listen, man, next time I've got 10 bags of Johnny's condoms. I'll give you a shout, man.
And you need to challenge the Labour Party and the Conservative Party about why they aren't seeking to rejoin the single market, why they aren't seeking to double down on making sure that we return to freedom of movement, and why we aren't investing in our renewables future.
And our exports are at a record high.
Penny, you know for a fact that Brexit has wiped £40 billion worth of tax receipts out of the UK economy. You did that because
she's looking for her next prey, and then I get hypnotised. Look, they've put Rayner centre stage like a big fucking red sex doll in the top of her pocket. Who would need pump the life out of that, man? Seriously?
Earlier, Stephen Flynn
Lovely big
mentioned the austerity years. Your party
Auburn
was
hair and
alongside
all.
the Conservatives
I do
for the
need
first
my
part of
whole
that.
Doberman.
Well, Liberal Democrats fought the Conservatives every single day in coalition, and we just have to look at the damage that the Conservatives have done on their own since 2015. Not only has there been Brexit, but there has been this awful budget. And to go back to Suzanne's question, I speak to hundreds of people in your situation, people who play by the rules, people who work hard, people who pay their taxes, and they've almost got nothing to show for it. And on top of that, when they go to use their public services, everything feels broken.
Hey, you should never get turkey teeth, man. Your turkey teeth are twice as wide. As wide as your face.
The first party to call for a windfall tax on the big oil and gas companies, because we saw the raw injustice.
Natural teeth don't do that, don't you know? They should have a Neanderthal.
When ordinary folk couldn't afford to pay their energy bills. That is one example of how we will tax fairly in this country.
We will need to move on now to our next question. Thank you all for your responses to that one. And our next question comes from Linda Myers.
Good evening.
I'm just trying to be
funny. Why is it when parties want your vote, they promise things, but when they're elected, nothing gets done?
Why is that? I have no idea. Why is that? Why is that? Rena, get your legs out, hen. I'll forget about it. Hey, why the fuck does your hair look like a lion's mane? What are you, fucking human or lion? You fucking weirdo.
Against them. We are making progress in this country.
Democracy. Oh man, I feel like I do, man. I do want to masturbate and bring myself down gently, like.
Choked off, and we must ensure that your taxes are being lowered. That is the pledge that we make to you, and that is what we have been doing.
You're just doing exactly
cuts that we have seen this year. That is what you need. It's not just your taxes that I'm worried about. I'm worried about my constituents.
You're worried about your hair fucking spraying no holding, hen. What the fucking staring? Your face is moving more than your hair. You fucking weirdo. And all I can think about is Raina looking like something on a fucking
That is the most important thing, because everything depends on you having that disposable income. And that is why tax is at the heart of this. The pledges that we are making to you on cutting your taxes.
There's as much bullshit as we've all
about the taxes they are going to be putting
up. But personal taxes, Penny Mordaunt, are still rising. Overall, they are still rising due to the freezing of income tax thresholds that you've brought in.
Look, we have had some very difficult times. We have had to spend a lot of money on things like furlough. That was the right thing to do, to keep jobs and livelihoods going, not just hand out welfare payments. The pandemic has been expensive, and we've also had terrible global shocks. We've had to step in and pay people's energy bills.
My fanny was bouffing, but I fucking washed it, man. I got the yeast infection out. My fanny's borderline alright now.
We have announced already we're making cuts on your taxes, regarding your home, your pension, work. We need to continue to do that. If you get us, we will reduce your taxes. That's in our DNA.
You can stink me on my fanny.
That's not what is in Labour's
You can
DNA.
see if I've got rid of the
Always
yeast.
put up taxes.
We will
They're gonna
fix.
put yours
I
up
have
by
fixed my fanny
£2,000.
problem.
They're going to increase your energy bills, and you're going to get a whole lot of costs with their net zero plans.
Or do you want to
My
dice with death with
constituents
shagging
cannot
this
afford that.
ginger?
You cannot afford that.
Well, I'm going to stop you there. And I'm also going to point out that the top civil servant in the Treasury said that the Conservative document that included the costs that you're referring to went beyond those provided by the civil service. Nigel Farage.
Well, Linda, I have to say, I think this has been one of the worst general election campaigns so far between the two main parties I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Oh, she's a Fudge fan. See her nodding there.
Clearly, well, very dull in the case of Labour. I mean, sort of Blair without the flair. I mean, the real leader of the Labour Party is here tonight.
Blair without the flair.
Personality.
Hold on. That's not worthy. Blair without the flair. And then you get the Angela Rayner stare. See? I can do that too, Vaj.
Worst general election campaign so far between the two main
That was
parties
good,
I've
though.
ever seen in my lifetime. It isn't just that their leaders are dull, well, very dull in the case of Labour. I mean, Blair without the flair. I mean, the real leader of the Labour Party is here tonight on the stage. At least she's got some personality. We've got Rishi Slippery Sunak. You know, he's...
At least he's got a nice pair of fucking legs in his hot to fucking trot. That's what I'm talking about, Vaj. Slimy shoe shack. What about Crooked Clinton? Oh no. Crooked Hillary or something, innit? That's a different country. Shit. See, it's the exact same tactics. These are all your memes. Shit that'll get cut up and spewed out everywhere.
He's fed all the lines to Penny Mordaunt. Don't believe any of it. I think it isn't just our public services that are broken. I think our political model is broken. The
done
on the other side of the room here.
Right, I do need to do this scientific analysis. Right. Let me see. Right. Now, I was saying Rude Ralph the other day, but this is... Does Nigel Farage look like a prawn? I think there is weight to my argument. That's all I'm saying. My AI digital recognition system.
Well, the truth is, they don't really disagree on anything. Fictitious numbers like £2,000, £3,000. And that's why reform have risen so quickly in the polls. There is a sense we need a revolt against this system. We need an electoral system where we get some proportional representation in Parliament. We need to break up the current model. And if we get a new kind of politics in Britain, we might just get some real change. What we're being offered, frankly, are two parties promising the earth, and nothing much will change regardless of who gets in. Although I think the breach of trust on manifestos with the Conservatives means they're probably sunk below the waterline. New
and Rayner will look better doing
politics, fresh start. We want a revolt from the British people. That's what I'm after.
Angela Rayner, has Labour gone back on any of its pledges?
Well, to be fair, it's always all about Nigel, and we've had this sort of clown personality before with Boris Johnson, who you talked about the pandemic, Penny, who was breaking lockdown rules and spending billions of pounds on our money on crony contracts.
When parties want your vote,
they I swear, vote her and I'm all in on Labour now, man. I could just listen to her all day. The list beside, man, it's just a bit of titillation with your bullshit, innit, man? It's easy to swallow.
They promise things when they're elected, none of it gets
absolutely
done.
And Linda's absolutely right, and I was coming back to that point because that eroded people's trust at a time when people wanted the government to do the right thing. They didn't.
Wanted
you ever dropped any
the right thing.
Disrespected them, and we
don't disrespect me, bruv.
The Tories have crashed the economy. That we've been honest in this election. People talked about some of the things that they would like us to do, like the 2-child limit. We have been clear. We will not promise anything.
I hope she hasn't heard me. What I would like her to. I hope she hasn't heard what I would like her to do.
That we.
I'll do it.
We cannot fund, and we've been absolutely clear.
You could fund it, you're choosing not to.
The Tories have record number of tax hikes on working people of this country. Labour, if we get in, will not put taxes up for working people of this country.
And Labour won't put them up for millionaires.
I'm going to Penny Mordaunt, you've had your say on this.
Been honest.
Carla,
I'm sleeping with her. I mean, I'm voting for her.
Carla Denyer, you're next.
He is going to put them up
Penny
by
Mordaunt,
£2,000.
Shut up, bitch.
Carla Denyer.
Look at the little leprechaun. Look at this. Look, she's like that. Look at
When I was younger, I had little to no faith that politics had the potential.
She sounds like a fucking with Charlie in the Chocolate Factory and Oompa Loompa. Right now. Right, Hen, you're meant to be speaking to the people, no fucking camera, you wee fucking leprechaun.
A better place. But let's remember, politics at its root is about people. It's about people's lives, people's bank accounts,
At the root.
people's future, people's health.
Yeah, like
and
those
happiness.
notes right in front of you.
Why, after meeting some Green Party
It's a lie.
in my
Oh, shit,
in
I
my
need to shut
20s, I
I'm
realised that the
sorry.
Green Party is different. That's why I joined. That's why I got involved.
That's my girlfriend invited me and we love to fucking pump each other with trees.
Drop pledge after pledge, policy
We use
after
eco-friendly
policy,
fucking
slide further and
dildos.
further towards the Conservatives so that you can barely get a cigarette paper between them. The
Look, she's a
argument
little
for
midget.
voting for a bit of diversity in the House of Commons becomes ever stronger. And in terms of answering your question, Linda, about
I'm being
parties
horrible.
keeping their promises.
I've been
The
serious
Green
when I
Party, when I
say
joined it in
she has the
2011,
most
was a pretty
annoying
small
voice
and young party,
ever.
but we're coming of age. We have increased our
coming?
number of councillors nearly
Did
fivefold
she just tell me
over the last
she's coming?
local elections, and we're grateful to
because
everyone who's put their trust
The question
in us.
was about pledges. Stephen
Shut
Flynn.
up, bitch.
If we
Exactly,
want to
bitch.
talk about pledges, then in a Scottish context, I can provide you with a few that have been delivered. 100,000 children in poverty are being lifted out of. It's 100,000 children in Scotland are being lifted out of poverty thanks to what's called the Scottish Child Payment. It doesn't exist anywhere else on these isles. The SNP has put it into place. Our young people, of course, do not pay a single penny in tuition fees. We've got something which I know the audience in Scotland would love to have, which is a nationalised water company. That
Are there any
delivers clean
pledges?
water.
Are there any pledges you haven't met in government?
The SNP have also delivered nationalised rail, 40% more affordable homes than in England, 70% more than in Wales. And ultimately, it's about keeping our promise to the Scottish people. But I would actually contest, I would say the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are being very honest with you about what the future
Have a
holds.
good
The problem is, it's
Roberto, man.
worth of public
You've
sector.
missed some good masturbating shit,
One
man.
of your pledges,
Raina
isn't it, that you would
is
close the
hot.
attainment gap in a decade between pupils from the richest and most deprived areas of Scotland. Today, it remains considerable.
And indeed, we're making significant progress in relation to that. But of course, poverty and the attainment gap are interlinked. And the levers of power over poverty are determined by Westminster, because all roads do indeed lead back to Westminster.
Rena Pureworth.
I think Linda's question is largely around
Where do these people stay?
loss of trust. I've been around politics for around 30 years, 20 of that as a journalist. And as a journalist looking from outside, I could see the apathy and I could see the cynicism. You know, the cynicism driven by Downing Street COVID.
Shut up, Lee Evans.
You know, the
Stop
cynicism
sweating your
by
balls
a
off.
leader of government in Wales accepting a £200,000 payment.
Lee
from
Evans
a
made a fortune out of looking
environmental
nervous
polluter who was
while
looking
not
for planning
even
permission
telling a
from the
decent
government
joke in his life.
refusing to see that looks wrong
No
in
offence if you
people's
were his
eyes.
fan.
We need to
I thought he
rebuild
was
that kind of trust.
pish.
In 2 words, honesty and
Dirty.
fairness.
No,
Honesty,
that's
you know,
a
the
Irish
identifying
thing.
rows between the Conservatives and Labour Party here on taxation this evening. We have to have honesty about taxation. We can't drive taxation forever down and expect to have high levels of public services, can we? And fairness, we have to have a system that protects people like you. Why should Rishi Sunak, on his £2 million income, largely from investments, pay less tax than you do on hard graft going out to work during the day? That's the kind of fairness, or the unfairness, I should say, within the taxation system.
That's that. She's no minger. She's beautiful, man. Look at her.
her
in the
promise after
world
promise
of
after promise from the
politics, man.
Conservatives at the last general
She
election.
is fan-fucking-tastic.
6,000 GPs and all the rest. And the fact is that this parliament has been
Man, the
characterised by
lovely
law
old Bernie,
breaking, by
fucking
lying, by the economic illiteracy of the mini budget. And of all the things
I do need to
that
get Menda away,
Conservatives
but in all
have broken,
seriousness,
the
she
worst
is
thing that I
sexy,
think
man.
they've broken is people's hope.
Do you remember going
I
back
bet
on the
she should
tuition
get
fees
tattoos on her thigh and that. No too many, just a few.
That's a sore subject for us for sure. Like that was a very difficult decision.
Told you.
But let's
And
remember that it was the Conservatives.
Roberto, she's hiding my melon
the maintenance
slice.
grants
Can
for
you
young people
spot
from
it?
the lowest backgrounds, which has now stopped many of them from going to university. But my point is that this election is about hope.
If you can
and it
find
is
out
about change.
where she's
Many of us need
hiding
to
my
acknowledge
melon
for the right
slice,
reason.
let
And
me
for
know.
any of you who has seen the party political broadcast by Ed Davey talking about his experiences as a carer for his disabled son, you will be in no doubt that he is in politics for the right reason and that we are committed to fixing the NHS.
Thank you all. And I'm going to go to our next question, which is from Lucy Hobday.
3 pints, then hashtag 3 pints, then I cycle home,
Thank you very much, Lucy, for that question.
and a
Nigel
couple of
Farage.
glasses of
Well, it
wine.
depends what those climate policies are.
And
at the moment, we're pursuing completely
King speaks.
unrealistic climate policies. I mean, the Labour pledge to decarbonise the grid by 2030 will not happen, just as the Conservative pledge to decarbonise the grid by 2035 will not happen. Not only is it impossible, it's actually unaffordable. So we have to be grown up and sensible. If we get new technologies that give us cheaper energy or better ways of manufacturing things, that's great. But what we're doing in this country is we're sacrificing economic growth.
oh, I'm just
We'd
drunk
be
and horny, by the
massacring
way.
British manufacturing.
They're all eating
And we
hotties.
say to ourselves, isn't it marvellous? We've reduced carbon
Maybe it's
emissions
just because
more than
Nigel
any
Badge
other
is on.
Western country. But we haven't. All we've done is to export carbon emissions when our steel works go to India, or our car manufacture moves to China, or to Turkey, or wherever it is. We're living in a complete fool's paradise on all of this. I mentioned earlier to the lady at the back about the cost of living. You know, we've been chucking 20% on people's electricity bills now for 20 years to pay for very inefficient wind energy. So what's really happening with net zero, what's happening with the attempt to deal with climate change, not that we can, because we produce less than 1% of the world's carbon dioxide. The Chinese are building 80 new coal-fired power stations every year. We should not forget. We're going to need oil and gas for the next 30 years.
Oh.
We will be using oil and
You're
gas.
not angry,
for
John?
So
Horny,
let's
John?
just-
I'm going to turn
let's
now
just
to
be sensible
Carla
about
Denia
what we
next.
do.
on
Which
this
is
topic.
bad, because I'm interested in listening to Nigel
What matters
Badge.
to you more, economic growth or successful climate policy, was the question. Carla Denia.
Well, Nigel's going to keep your fact checkers busy for a little while. Nigel Farage has been misleading you. I'm an engineer. I used to work in the renewable energy sector. I know very well how wind farms work. So much of what he said there is simply untrue.
Subsidy.
Everyone knows that they can't trust the
One year's
Conservatives
got to be
or
better
reform
than
when
two.
it comes to
Aye,
climate,
it's a
and
wee bit better.
that's part of the reason why the Conservatives are on their way out at the general election.
Hang on, let her answer.
But what people have been saying to me on the doorsteps in my home city of Bristol and elsewhere is that they're sorely disappointed in the Labour Party too, who've rolled back on their previously
believe in
flagship climate
leprechauns, but-
investment pledge, one of the few good policies they had left, when it's totally clear that we need to tackle the climate crisis and that doing so brings so many other benefits. Insulating our homes, a
China
nationwide home insulation
and
programme
India
will bring
and
down
the
our bills,
BRICS
give us warmer,
companies
more comfortable homes.
Let me
in
get
the
Angela
vote.
Rayner
Transport.
to respond to that. You've dropped that £28 billion a year green investment pledge earlier this year.
Well, we said we want to get to that point, but we will invest in our green prosperity plan because, as Lucy's question was put to us, actually, we do need to look at economic growth and it's not divorced from also looking at climate policies. We can't ignore the fact that we do have to change. And Nigel says we have to use oil and gas, and you're right. And we
Potatoes and
recognise
onions
that
and
will be
doing
part of the
well.
future, but it won't be forever. So we do have to have a green transition, and that's what our green prosperity plan is all about creating those jobs, insulating homes and having our self-reliant energy needs for the future through Great British Energy.
Stephen Flynn, the SNP.
Yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile starting by addressing the question head on. Net zero is economic growth, and it's not GB energy.
I've got a question. A genuine one. If the SNP had their whole shebang, their whole way, and took Scotland as an independent country into the European Union, what would happen to Scottish water then? I don't know the answer. I beg the question. I don't know the model, the typical model that exists in the European Union. God kept she's an 8-pint. Rainer, seriously, maybe it's just my preferences. I think she's beautiful. I'm not even joking. I've said that for ages, man.
Economy of the future. The Americans are investing
I
in
love
it. Europe's
redheads,
investing
man.
in it. The Middle East and beyond is investing in
But
it.
I love
The
all
UK
women,
needs to
but
invest too. The
big
opportunities are huge,
fucking
but we have
Casper the
to grasp
Ghost,
them. And I'm afraid
old
what we're
Bernie
seeing at
redheads, man,
Westminster
beautiful.
is a betrayal of the future generations. The Labour Party walking away from £28
This
billion
peanut isn't
worth of
quite my
investment,
thing.
which would have been transformative.
Steal it.
With the SNP, you will get that commitment to a just transition, to reaching net zero.
I need to put my
to
woman,
protect and create
don't look at
new
woman
jobs
filter on
for
now.
the future.
And what does that mean for oil and gas in the North Sea?
And I was actually just going to come to that helpfully enough, because what Angela has said there in relation to oil and gas, so there's three positions at the moment. There's a Conservative Party position that oil and gas...
He comes across a wee bit as a deer in the headlights, didn't he?
It's not, and I can say that with some certainty given...
He's no too shabby with his patter.
The Labour Party position is to shut
You know,
down the North Sea oil and gas
but
sector,
it's
which
those
would risk
eyes, I think.
100,000 jobs. Not my
It
numbers,
just looks-
independent experts, and what the United
It just
Union
kinda
call
looks-
putting people on the scrap heap. There is a sensible
There's no
middle ground which allows us to invest
calmness
in net zero,
in his
protect the
eyes.
jobs of tomorrow, and that's what the SNP
Maybe
are
you
come
were-
with time.
you were in agreement. You didn't want to put
Maybe
a levy
come-
on the oil and gas.
Look at
companies.
Lioness woman, man. She looks like she's on a beach. That means she's like counting
the
the...
transition from oil and gas.
Yeah,
and
she's
that's
just
what
like...
the green prosperity plan is all about. And that's why that's why we put the levy on oil and gas companies to then have Great British Energy, which will give us the jobs for the future, hundreds of thousands of jobs across the UK, including in Scotland, where Great British Energy's headquarters will be
Doberman
based.
kitchen.
I'm going to now turn
If I
to
may address
Daisy
that, if
Cooper
I
for
may
Liberal
address that directly,
Democrats.
because it was pointed towards me, that we should not be grateful in Scotland for a headquarters. It is our energy. 100,000 jobs are on the line as a result of your policies.
And there will be more jobs. There will be more jobs in Scotland under our plan.
100,000 jobs are
There
going?
will be more jobs than 100,000 in Scotland under
Could we
Labour.
bring Daisy Cooper in now? Thanks.
The Conservatives have moved the goalposts on climate targets. And what's that done is that has brought uncertainty to the heart of business and people who want to invest in our country and our climate transition. We are facing a climate and ecological emergency, but we don't have to make a choice between economic growth and tackling the climate emergency. We can do both, hand in hand. We really can. So take the example of having a home insulating scheme, an emergency home insulating scheme. That would not only reduce our energy usage, which would be good for the climate, it would reduce our energy bills, which would be good for our pockets, but it would also create a huge raft of new jobs as well, people who could actually go around insulating our homes. So we can do both of them hand in hand, and that's precisely what we need to do.
Okay. Runa Pureworth.
Nothing's more important than looking after the environment that you will be living in future. There is not a matter of making a choice in Wales, as it happens. We can create that economic prosperity that we need to build a brighter future for our country, hand in hand with looking after the environment. It is why Plaid Cymru calls for the devolution of the Crown Estate, as has happened to Scotland, but they won't do it to Wales, so that we can invest in making the most of our natural resources, in extracting power out of the wind. And that's why we need to see Wales being paid the £4 billion that is owed of the investment in HS2 rail in England. Wales is contributing towards that, even though there's not a mile of that railway in Wales. And we need that in order to drive people onto public transport through investing in connectivity in Wales.
As that, I'm going to hold my own election again.
Refusing to make that commitment to Wales, but it's galling
You
when
talk-
you
you
have a
talking
Labour
about the
government in Wales
Conservative
that
check?
Labour won't either.
Penny Mordaunt.
Done well, both
I've no
should
clocked
help
her lisp
the
yet.
other. What is
Sometimes
critical,
it's the
though, is if you
microphones
want
as
to
well when you're
reach net
really
zero by 2050,
close mic'd up.
you have to do it with people. You have to ensure that people can afford to get there. if you don't do that, you will fail to reach your targets. We are going to do this at a pace that people can afford. 2050 sounds a long way off, and in this election, you're looking at the next 5 years. At the end of this parliament, if they get in, you will not be able to buy a petrol car. If your boiler goes, you'll have to spend tens of thousands of pounds on a new heat pump, other things that need to be done to your home to convert it. My constituents cannot afford that. You heard about
because of your policies.
Energy. You heard about GB Energy. This is an energy company that your money is going to be put into that doesn't produce
sexy.
any
I love her
energy
accent, mate. It's North England's a beautiful accent.
Oil and gas. This is the insanity of Labour's policy. They are expecting a load of people to invest in oil and
Fairly
gas
sure my
at the same
accent.
time saying they're not going to expand the
I've
sector.
not got a list right
So they're
enough,
not going to
but-
get the money in. And the final thing, if you do this
because
too
I'm listening.
fast,
Shit.
all you do is destroy
Because I'm listening,
our
you
supply
pod,
chain.
something
We should be
shouting as well.
building supply chains in this country to produce batteries, to do all sorts of things. If you
let's
do
get
it
Angela
at
to
the speed Labour are planning,
let
the
Angela
only country that will
respond, Penny
benefit
Mordaunt,
is China,
to what you've
and that
said.
will kill off economic growth.
Let's hear the response.
I mean, it's astonishing.
How much energy is it going to produce?
It's astonishing because the Tories have been in power now 14
How
years.
much energy is
and
Great
we
British
haven't
Energy
had
going to
an
14 years, I keep
industrial
forgetting
strategy or a manufacturing sector in the UK that is
You
about
just said it's
creating.
going to produce
I've just.
How
We're
much
just
energy
listening. We're just
is it
listening
gonna
to you,
produce?
Penny.
Aye.
I think it's pretty important. You're
Ooh.
flogging an energy company to these guys. You're expecting them to put their money.
Best bit
She's
ever.
mid-response. Let's hear it.
Oh!
Great British
Oh!
Energy will be an industrial strategy or a
Hold on. This is going in the wank bank for later.
manufacturing sector in the UK that is
You
about
just said it's going to
creating-
produce
I've just.
How
We're
much
just
energy
listening. We're just
is it
listening
gonna
to you,
produce?
Penny.
I think it's
Can
pretty
answer?
important. You're flogging an energy company to these guys. You're expecting them to put their
Ooh.
money.
She's mid-response. Let's hear it.
Thank you. Great British Energy will be owned
filled in a
by
million
the
and one
UK
blanks there.
taxpayers that will bring energy, clean energy, to the country, which will bring down bills and give people good, skilled jobs. We've heard from the Tories for 14 years that they were going to do something about skills and manufacturing in this country. I asked the people to look at their record, and they constantly spout these lies that we're going to stop people's cars, that we're going to do this, going to do that, when really the reason they say that is their 14 years abstract failure.
And are your green policies going to be
You
in your
have
manifesto?
failed the British people.
Are your green
You
policies
have
going to be in
failed
your
the British
manifesto?
people, and people can see that.
Because you currently can't afford to pay for them.
Our
That's where that
manifesto-
£2,000 comes
The
from,
Green
that you're
Prosperity
going to have to
Plan
pay.
and
I'm going
Every
to
single
and I'm going to turn to
on their green policies, and they're going to hit you on the cost.
and I'm going to turn to the next.
There's Cardini seeing the way of the ninja. That Raynor is a beauty, sex, maybe no sex, but she's beautiful, man. Dinny, damn right. I think I've actually portrayed it maybe a wee bit too much.
Question at
Unnecessary
this
cost.
point. And the next question comes.
Oh dear. They disagree. They agree.
The next question.
Oh my god, man! What did Nigel Farage bring his smoking jacket and a big cigar, and he's sitting there watching them two get down, and then they go to him and he's like, "Hello, dear." Did I just make that up in my head? See if this is what happened. Make sure you thumbs this video
afford
up.
to pay for them.
Our
That's where
manifesto-
that £2,000 comes
The
from,
Green
that
Prosperity
you're going to have to pay.
And I'm going
Every single working
and I'm going to turn to
on their green policies, and they're going to hit you on the cost.
and I'm going to turn to the next question at
Unnecessary
this
cost.
point. And the next question comes.
Oh dear.
The
They
next
disagree.
next question.
What the fuck? Oh my god! Is this PoliTITS? Is this politics? Is this PoliTITS? Or is this carry on PoliTITS? That's immense. That is immense, isn't it? Oh man. Is that? Oh man, that was fun. Hello there. Hello there. Look. I thought I was laying it on a bit thick for fucking comedic effect over the old Raynor tonight, And then fucking Vag bounces in live on hello there. That's worth a gain, man.
See that. Because you currently can't
Right, she does deserve a hello
afford to pay for them.
Our
That's where that £2,000 comes from, that you're going to have to pay.
And I'm going to turn
on their green policies, and they're going to hit you on the cost.
And I'm going to turn to the next question at this point. And the next question comes.
Oh dear.
The next
disagree. They agree.
The next question. Let's get the next question. It's from Nick O'Donnell.
As a father with a young son about to start secondary school, I'm concerned about him going out on his own. I'm particularly worried about knife crime. How will the parties make sure he's safe?
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Donnell. So how will the parties protect future generations like Nick O'Donnell's young son who's about to start secondary school? Carla Denia.
Nick, we all...
Well, I'm a leprechaun, so I say wrap them in rainbows.
all have the right to feel safe in our homes and on our...
I'm no joking, I'm giving some sort of a adverse effect to her whiny voice. Some might say because the PoliTITS isn't listen to her fucking voice. I think she really is a midget.
But the other parties will also...
See, it's like, see, I really think she's a midget. I'm not joking. I think she's like borderline that fucking... And I'm sorry, man, it's no big, it's no clever, but I'm being serious. That is the most irritating.
...can be tackled by...
And it's... I've got earbuds in here, man. I can only handle fucking... It's like fucking... I feel like I'm in the Warriors. Warriors, come out to play. Shit, sorry.
Services that they need.
No. I love being able to censor shit. I now know how to censor the YouTube.
Stop and search. We know the areas in which knives are most prevalent. Stop and search. And of course, we don't do it. Oh gosh,
places where black people stay.
Got a high proportion of people from the black and ethnic minority communities.
Told you.
Racist. We got to stop
racist fuck.
Completely forget.
Yeah, well, we got to lock up all the black cunts.
Equally, but we must
hit them over the head, truncheon, and then fucking figure out whether they came here in a boat.
One area, isn't it? I mean,
if not, send them to Rwanda.
Any of you can go out and nick up to 200 quid's worth without being prosecuted. We are
yes, I didn't know that until now.
A societal decline of law and order in this country, and frankly, government and the police forces have been too scared to do what needs to be done. It's
just
another
make a
area
short
of Britain that is broken and needs radical surgery.
Daisy Cooper.
I know many parents who were really very scared about the safety of their children. It's not only a big issue here in London, but particularly in the home counties, on county lines, there's a big issue with knives as well. I think we need to change the model of policing, and we need to get back to good old-fashioned community policing, where the police know their communities, where the communities know their police, where community groups, where faith groups, where local families all work together and they get their intelligence from the ground up. That's been all but wiped out in parts of our country. There's been cuts of 4,500 at PCSOs as well. And let me say about stop and search in particular. Stop and search can be a useful tool in some circumstances, but suspicionless stop and search, which has been used to target particular groups of people, is not valid and should not be used. So where there is a suspicion of somebody, it can be used, but it has to be used in a targeted way based on evidence, not on profiling.
Nigel Farage?
We do know the areas in which knife crime is the most prevalent, and there is no question, you know, that we are scared.
And those are the areas with the most inequality, which is why tackling inequality is an...
This is how you can... This is how I see a subject can be hijacked by arseholes for ulterior motives. Because, like, I'm on board with what Vaj is saying there, man. Like, you know the scumbags? Do you know what I mean? Like, the cops, it's not that hard to be able to spot fucking what in the United States would be called a gangbanger. Like, up here would back in the day be called a a Ned, etc., etc. And obviously it can get all wrapped up in race. And also, I don't even want to go down the logical argument here because we'll be here all fucking day. But just like, well, the reason black people are overrepresented in the categories is because economics, so don't be surprised that they're overrepresented. If you've got fuck all, you're more likely to steal shit. It's a simple equation. That analogy, that equation happened before the demographics by perceived race changed. That's all I'm saying. It's existed, does exist, will continue to exist, and the colours change. That's kind of my point. So it's just getting wrapped up in bullcrap to money, control, money, control, money, control. Anyway, let's get back to the let's not get back to the fucking.
That may be what you have to do to solve the problem.
Fucking eat her. She's a little bit of algae vag.
But ultimately, is that not the point?
Look at the size here.
We're scared of our own shadow here. We're not going to deal with.
I think she's been taking fucking not only puberty blockers, growth stunt alert. He's a fucking midget. Next will be known she'll be starting a fucking war. I tell you, it's where these fucking midgets stay. I mean, small midgets. I mean, midgets, small people. What the fuck? Midget!
Question.
Bridget!
We stop
Call her Bridget.
Okay.
We go out and do what needs to be done.
No,
Penny Mordaunt, how would you protect future generations?
Look, she's a fucking midget. Literal midget. About half the size as her tits. Rainer's tits. But she's only one
more than
mistake.
halved crime, 55%. And
This
we have
question
now
is about
a
knife
record
crime.
number
Sorry,
of
ladies
police
in the chat.
violent crime.
I can obviously just ignore me and tell me to shut the fuck up. And dudes in the chat as well, try and be a wee bit more mindful than me. There's ladies about sometimes. Also, there's Christians. I'm saying that I'm not saying it tongue in cheek. Nobody wants anybody not to feel welcome, and I genuinely mean that. But I also don't want to fucking feel that I need to hold my tongue. Do you know what I mean? That's the catch-22. Yeah. Anywho, let's get back to the line.
Crime is down by 44%, but we have hotspots.
10 pence to the first person that can see a hair move.
And knife crime in particular, London is top of the list. We have put more police on the streets. We have met our manifesto commitment of 20,000 more police officers. We have record numbers. And where you have Conservative police crime commissioners, like my area in Hampshire, you have local bombs
Actually,
on the
West
beat.
Midlands has the highest rate of knife crime.
Absolutely.
And that has
That's
had
that's the
that did until
I'm not
Ryan
being a
Commission,
puff.
that did
Well,
unfortunately have a Conservative mayor.
I'm trying to be considerate of other
but he wasn't
fucking
responsible for
puffs'
police.
feelings.
There was a police crime commissioner and it was Labour. If you live in a Labour area, you are 40% more likely to be a victim of crime. That is a shocking
Shit, I say that out loud, man.
more police, and we need police who are embedded in communities that...
Zeke, how? We need the Führer back. We need the process. Oh, we need fucking complete control. We have to document every fucking every filling, every fucking ingrown toenail, everything we shall document in the brain. Zeke, how? Welcome to your future. We won the war! We won the war! We won the war! Oh, alright, sorry, this is just conservative speaking.
Can follow up with people. If kids are doing stuff, they follow up with the school, they follow up with the parents. That's what Conservative police crime commissioners are doing. In Hampshire, we've got 600 extra officers. Every single one of my wards has a named Bobby. Okay. People know, build up intelligence. That is how we get crime down, and we have got it down by 55%.
Angela Rayner?
Well, Nick, thanks for the question. And I think our young people don't feel safe either at the moment, never mind us as parents. And I say that I've got a 15 and 16-year-old.
Now, I've came up with some really good, I would say, vote-winning policies. Subsidised pot noodles, gym membership, Michelin star meal vouchers, bring down crime, get a wee hottie like Rainer in her fishnets just to walk down your street. I could probably rule the probably rule the wildlife. Sorry, Rainer.
At home, and I think it's really sad when I go around my schools and I talk to young people. They're frightened of what they think is crime on their streets, and young people who are worried about knife crime generally tend to carry a knife to protect themselves, but are more likely to actually be involved in knife crime because of that. We've got to educate our young people, and that means that we've got to have those
recover 10.
We said we put 13,000 more neighbourhood police on the street. Penny
I didn't even see the cum bubble.
Officers. They cut 22,000.
Sorry, I'm
That's
terrible,
a minus
man.
2,000 in my mathematics. So they haven't protected.
That's not true. We've got a record number of police officers.
We have seen the decimation of our neighbourhood policing, and actually when police are in the neighbourhoods, they get to know young people, they can work with them, and we can really get our young people feeling safe on the streets again, because I think that is one of the real scandals at the moment, is our young people feel that they will be protected if they carry a knife. That is completely untrue, and we've got to educate them and make them feel safe again.
Bring up your
No, really.
Penny Mordaunt was referring to some areas having higher levels of crime than others. Let's be straight about it. It's areas which are suffering most poverty that will suffer the highest levels of crime. It is people who have less hope who are most likely to end up leading criminal lives.
I hate it when these politicians talking their politics say something you agree with and you're like, right, where's he trying? But is he just stating the sky is blue? Bad shit happens most where there's poverty. Poverty equals less dough.
I absolutely agree that we need to look back through the education system. We have to make it very, very clear to our young people that there can be zero tolerance on knives. I was attacked as a teenager. Luckily, no knives. My son was attacked a couple of years ago. Again, luckily,
you were in a fight.
Knives involved, but it makes me too very, very worried about the future for young people. But for us in Wales,
I was attacked when I was in Wales. I went down with the boys' brigade, man, and we all went to a petrol station. And don't ask me how, right? Everybody will, in close to my life, will be like, I somehow seem to attract fucking trouble anyway. And all these Welsh cunts, they were just looking for a fight. Anyway, their big rammy with all the boys' brigade people started at the petrol station. There was a few he's left behind scrapping, and then we started heading back towards the camp, and then like all the pussies that ran away went back to camp and got all the head boys' brigaders. And they all come out looking for us and just picked us up off the street, and we were all good. Fun times. Lee Evans, tell me, look, he's got his magic wand.
Decision making closer to communities such as yours, so that we can see the devolving of justice and policing, so that we can devise systems that work for Wales.
Welsh cunts are.
Angela's Labour colleagues in Wales agree with me on that.
Cunts.
Again, Labour
apart for the good
on the UK
ones.
level, hoping to become the next government, say no chance.
Briefly, Carla, before I turn to Stephen Flynn.
I've signed the Citizens UK pledge for a counsellor in every school to help young people.
Why can they not get rid of this leprechaun
Will the
biatch,
others
man?
on the panel today join me?
Well, we already committed that we'd have mental health services in schools.
See, normal voice. Even with the
on
list,
the broader question of policing, police officer numbers in Scotland are at the lowest level since 2008. Now, police in Scotland are not investigating every low-level crime.
Peanut. No, I'm only being mean, by the way.
Direct question. I remember the figure.
I'm being mean like a child. See if these people were in the street, I would never run up to them with Charlie Veach, like kick people out of the way and go, "Hey, peanut head!" Nah, that isn't what I would do. I would do it more quietly than that. Hopefully you get the point. This is my channel. We watch shit, point, laugh, and joke. Not actively seek out these people. God forbid they ever watch this shit, and I guarantee they ain't got the fucking time, or the want, or why would it this?
Serious knife crime in Scotland is comparatively low compared with many other areas. Now that's not
people want to fucking.
Because as a dad, I share your concerns. I worry about what the future holds for my kids. But ultimately, the solution lies in what
more peanuts.
Said. What we need to do is make sure that we are investing in the areas that need support the most. Poverty is a major driver behind this, and Westminster has failed generations of young people by not providing them with the hope for a better future, so they turn to violence when they perhaps shouldn't. And I think that's something we should all reflect upon going into this general election, where £18 billion of public sector cuts are coming down the line, and a future Labour government has no answers.
But this question was about how the parties are going to protect future generations like Nick Donald's
vaginas, man, hopefully.
How can he feel confident of that if someone in a similar position in Scotland sees the police not investigating every crime?
There is room for
as
vaginas.
I've already outlined, as I understand it,
I'm joking, but I'm being
serious
serious.
Instances in Scotland are comparatively low in comparison to elsewhere, but our police officer numbers.
Bear that in mind, gents. This is a unisex fucking toilet.
Government again, if I understand correctly,
there's
a wider picture to be had here, and that means police officers working with local communities, working with schools, working with our young people to offer them hope and optimism for the future. And I'm afraid that Westminster doesn't offer that hope and optimism right now.
Okay.
She's no singing, she's no singing to you, Chug, but she's been singing to me all night, my friend.
Our whole approach to crime is wrong.
I can't remember what neck of the wood you're in, but
street level crime is rapidly growing.
She's for me, she's the sexiest thing in British
about
politics.
New York and how it was cleaned up. It was if you deal with the stuff at the bottom, i.e. people carrying knives,
a lot of people don't see their beauty.
You might just deal with the more serious stuff. I think we also should add.
They would rather listen to a fucking talking prawn
drug gangs in our cities. That whole culture it has been absolutely disastrous, and nobody has yet found the answer to that.
Okay, well, that was our final question, so I'm going to thank you all for your responses to all of those here in the audience who have shared their questions with us. But it is time now to go to the party's final thoughts, and for that they have been given 30 seconds.
The leprechaun's going to give a ripper dance.
And the order of those final thoughts, those final statements, was chosen earlier by lot. So let us go to the first of those, and it's from Angela Rayner.
After 14 years of chaos, it's time for change.
Building. Change, chaos, change. I fucking knew that. I told you. Get rid of all the fucking cunts that gave a fuck about Palestine. But don't worry, I'm hot. I look kind of sexy in a dress.
Not with gimmicks, but with a credible plan to smash the gangs.
But with a pair of fishnets.
Bringing down bills and creating thousands of well-paid jobs. We'll boost neighbourhood police to tackle antisocial behaviour, and we'll hire 6,500 new teachers. So if you want change, vote Labour.
I should get rid of that.
The Tories are finished, so the choice is simple. Who voters best trust to put Scotland's interests first in Westminster?
If you could put a pump in his ear and just
investment in our NHS, action on the cost of living crisis, rejoining
he's just too much like, it's not even like he looks like a pea head or like a fucking basketball head. He looks like a fucking peanut head.
We will never, ever get comfortable with the Westminster status.
And the Men in Black as well, with that fucking
right to choose
black and white.
So on the 4th of July, vote to put Scotland's interests first. Vote SNP.
Colour Day.
We can all see the Tories are toast. Thank goodness. But we deserve better than a Labour Party that is offering
look, I can still
more
hear
of the
when
same.
I mute up the little... Top of the morning. I love my kites. I love my kites in the morning, so I do. Oh, what did I so do? Oh, let's go. Let's go doing labour. I love I love my rainbows and my unicorns and my pots of gold. So I do.
This evening, I've been able to stand up for...
Yeah. I'm sweating profusely. Lee Evans. My gimmick is I'm fucking a sweaty bastard. I'm just gonna walk up and down here and a stupid walk. I've still got some walk, so I'm just gonna use a stupid handshake. But look at my big ears and I'm sweaty. I don't know why, but it's been sweaty is a comedy show. Yeah, I don't know what's on now. I'm just being sweaty is a comedy show. I just don't get.
4th of July.
Penny Mordaunt.
We've come through tough times, and now there is you can choose Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer.
Sorry, I only fucking
get
find
higher
myself
taxes,
funny, but I
higher
still do
bills,
find myself
and have
funny.
your pension raided. Stick with us and the plan that is working. We will protect your pension and this nation. For a more secure future, vote Conservative.
Not yet. She not give you the gold bars yet. Fuck that.
Crying out for change.
And I love melon pieces.
Under this Conservative government, everything feels broken.
Including my melon piece.
Under Ed Davies' leadership, the Liberal Democrats will fix our NHS and social care.
And give me a new melon piece. And I will love that. That is for sure. So vote for me, because I want a new melon piece. Vote me for melon piece. Get it.
Desperately want and need.
Nigel Farage.
Good.
Unlike the other six, I don't need an autocue. I'm here because I believe in what I believe in.
Yes!
Working. You've heard these pathetic arguments tonight between the two big parties. Really, there isn't much difference. But electorally, Labour are going to win. The debate is who forms the opposition in the next parliament? Who fights for the rights of ordinary British people? Who fights to control our borders? Who fights for men and women running small businesses? Reform UK.
Who destroys
is about
Starmer on a weekly basis?
Phenomenon, an historic one. So I urge you, join the revolt.
Thank you very much.
Sounds like fucking Trump, doesn't it? And Alex Jones, the Resistance.
That is it from the
Well, it's
BBC
exactly the same
election
idea.
debate from all of us here in the radio theatre, our audience, and thank you to all the politicians who took part. Thank you for being with us. Good night.
When we go see the fallout, there'll be like people. Oh. Get it? Get some after, just for political context, some after hours Rayner. Was that somebody with a disease or a wee lassie? Is it me? It must have been somebody with a disease. It's all. I don't know if you what I mean.
The revolt.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. And with
Still
that,
sitting
we
up, Tisha.
ended. That is it from the BBC election debate from all of us here in the radio theatre, our audience. And thank you to all the
Yeah.
politicians who took part. Thank you for being with us. Good night.
Woo! This wee lassie here. Probably exactly where her tits were. That's why I'm not even looking there. Oh no, there, look. Looks like fucking an Auschwitz fucking cast member, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Like, is she young or fucking ill? Suppose that's 9 o'clock. 12 o'clock's allowed to. 12-year-olds allowed. It's just sheep. Anywho, that was fucking well interesting.
In the night where the journalists draw their conclusions, distill what they've heard through the debate and come to a conclusion. The headlines you will see tomorrow morning. But amid them all, the politicians who will circulate to try and mould and shape the impressions that we were left with. It is the first time in the general election campaign that the leading figures of these 7 parties have come together. There will be another debate next week on Thursday on ITV. Tonight's 90 minute debate
Denny, it's sad that people pay for the BBC, but
and the Conservative leader of the
everybody pays for their national TV some way. It's just a matter of how. I would rather have the ability to opt out, if you get me. So shush. Hard times create hard men.
It was Penny Mordaunt.
Roberto, man, honestly, I'm just thinking about getting a hard on over Rainer now. AI head in the clouds. Again, head.
To give their response. We'll play you a little bit of that very shortly.
AI's
of course, we'll get to the all the various parties on the policies and how they see this campaign. With me is Leyla Nathu. What did you make of it?
Oh, independent.
I thought it was quite courteous, quite a satisfactory watch. I think we sort of heard fairly from everybody. Quite an interesting focus, I think, when you think of the flashpoints you mentioned between Angela Rayner and Penny Mordaunt. One big flashpoint was over tax. Quite interesting to hear Penny Mordaunt repeat that £2,000 figure that we spent a lot of time dissecting the credibility of.
I thought Sunak
first
was
mentioned
going
it.
to be
Interesting
there.
to see that Penny Mordaunt went there again.
I think somebody in the chat,
quite an
I
interesting,
can't
angry
remember
exchange
who,
between Penny Mordaunt and Angela
not
Rayner
tonight.
on
But earlier was ahead of the game.
That was quite telling. Penny Mordaunt very
And you
keen
they
to
weren't
talk
going to turn
about the
up.
nuclear deterrent
Not
and question
turn
Labour's
up,
record on
not they wouldn't
defence.
turn up.
Another thing
Just
that really stood out for me was Stephen Flynn, the SNP leader. The number of rounds of applause he got. He was the first to get rounds of applause, and quite interesting.
he told
topics,
you
I think,
he was
that
the
got applause
fucking
from the
one to
audience, of
watch.
course, specially selected to represent.
He's going to be the
different
next
voters,
Sturgeon.
So it's a carefully
Yeah,
live
fucking
audience there.
Sturgeon
But
bastard.
interestingly, on Brexit, talks about the damage, in his words, the damage to the economy. Yeah, talked about an end to the demonisation of migration, another thing that Stephen Flynn said that got a round of applause, and also free tuition fees in Scotland. So that was interesting to me too. And I think the strategies, certainly from it became a kind of debate between Labour and the Tories, and the smaller party strategy was to essentially pick holes in both of their arguments. So I think a really interesting dynamic, but I thought really well managed and actually very well presented.
Let's go through some of the highlights, if we will. For,
Hard in the baldy guy, sitting in a tree.
Armed forces, and that issue of Rishi Sunak's early departure from the D-Day
Live
commemoration
from the
is always going to
spin
come up. In fact, it was Nigel Farage who
See,
raised
this
it
is
first.
the.
Let's have a listen to him and
This
the
is the
response from Penny
spin.
Mordaunt.
This is the facade that actually people
veterans,
give a
including
shit.
those with the average age of 100 who were deserted by the Prime Minister in Normandy yesterday, which I think was a complete and utter disgrace and shows us we actually have a very unpatriotic Prime Minister. It was dreadful.
But Penny Mordaunt, can you respond to that? Rishi Sunak leaving the D-Day commemorations before the end of the day?
What happened was completely wrong, and the Prime Minister has rightly apologised for that. Apologised
If
to
you're
veterans,
talking to me, Miss, or
but
Doberman,
also
I
to
don't know.
all of us, because he was
If you
representing
talk to me, I
all
just
of
hop my
us.
shin.
I'm from
Against my
Portsmouth.
desk.
I've also been Defence Secretary,
Jesus,
and my
mate,
wish at the
fucking
end of
shins
this
when you
week is
think
that
it was
all
a
of our
professional
veterans
football player or
feel
something.
completely treasured.
Clumsy
And
bastard.
I'm hoping tonight to convince you of some things that are important to them, important to their legacy. And I couldn't do that if I wasn't straight with you on that issue.
Would you have left D-Day early?
I can screw you
didn't
over
go
and
to
everything
D-Day.
else,
I think
but if I
what
wasn't
happened
straight with
was
you
very
on
wrong.
this.
I think the Prime Minister has
Nope.
apologised for that.
let's get some response to that, shall we? Laura Trott is with me, Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Hello, thank you for joining us.
Penny Morgan said it was very wrong
of the Prime Minister not to be there yesterday. Has he let you all down?
Look, it's been a really tough day, if I'm being honest, Christian. It really has. I mean, I think that the Prime Minister has been really clear that he made a mistake.
Really hard
it's one of the things actually I really respect about him, that he fronts up things, and it was a huge mistake, a big mistake. But I think Penny was really clear this evening that what is important is that our record on veterans, on what we've done, we are proud as a country for the service that they have provided, and we've tried really hard through the work that Johnny has done, the work the Prime Minister has done, to value that as much
I don't know if you clocked it, and I was saying earlier on, there's something very strange happening. Sunak is now, see, as soon as Faj entered the race, Sunak is getting attacked off the perceived, what I would perceive to be right-wing media, which wasn't happening before. They weren't like bigging up fucking Sunak, but they were trying to put down Starmer. Now what's happening is they're putting down Sunak to big up Farage. So I hear you, mate. I absolutely hear you, and I see it happening as well, buddy. And I'm trying to beg the question why, and then it goes into what you were saying earlier, like he's getting position for fucking 5 years' time. And maybe, you never know, even a late sneak attack by the back door for the Conservative thing, once the Conservatives realise that Sunak is a fucking dead dog, just like I still
What we're also
think
talking
there's a
about here is about
possibility
how much money we are going to be spending on defence.
could
Right? And
happen
again,
over in
that was
America.
discussed this evening. We said we're going to... No, we haven't. Money's gone up in terms of how much we've been putting into the armed forces since 2010 in real terms. But what we're saying is that we are going to put 2.5% into defence by 2030. Labour have not matched that commitment. Angela Rayner this evening said that they were going to do it. It's unclear whether she meant that, how it's been funded. Look, I'm sure they'll clarify that later on this evening. But that is a really big dividing line. You know, there is a clear choice at this election. We've just talked about in terms of defence and defence spending, and people at home really need to think about that when they're going to the polling
What
booths.
did you say to your civil servants in the Treasury this week, who you effectively have thrown under a bus? You said they've come up with these figures. They're not independent, are they?
No. What's happened is a very long-established process, which has been used, by the way, frequently by opposition parties going back to the 1980s. What they've done is there's 27 costings in this paper that we put out. 21 of those are done by the Treasury civil servants. You've got a couple in here where we've taken Labour's claims at face value. I think that's reasonable. I mean, lots of independent experts actually say things like their energy plan is going to cost a lot more money. But we didn't take those figures. We took Labour's figures. And then there's a couple of independent analysis, and we've put them together. It's obviously right that the civil service are not involved in how we present a paper, but the costings involved in that, the 21 costings were absolutely from the Treasury, and it was very clear that that was how it was drawn up.
Yeah, Fraser Nelson done the same thing for the Spectator. He's come back on
Ukraine
your
and
figures.
get a cup of soups. Oh mate, shut up, you're making me, I'm not even joking, you're making me munchy.
We've got to have a clear choice and arguments about policies and how they're going to be funded, right? And what the Labour Party is trying to do is have an argument about process rather than what they're actually putting forward. Because it's perfectly legitimate, by the way, to say that you're going to raise taxes in order to do more breakfast clubs. Like, that is a legitimate argument that you could have. But they're trying not to have that. They're trying to say that they're going to do all these policies and not pay for them. That's not okay.
But Fraser Nelson's saying you're more
the way the government works is obviously we have to show how everything's paid for, right? We have to do them at autumn statements and budgets. We have to show how we're funding all of our policies. And we've done that the whole way along. And what we've been very clear in terms of where we made commitments now, we've been clear about how we're going to fund them.
Well, the IFS say you haven't been very clear. They say the option before the people, and they blame Labour for this as well, is that you can either cut public services.
About 80% a lot of people at home. This is a program watching.
The last we have, and we've
It's the leprechaun. Right, hold on. Sky News can do a wee bit more sex appeal, can't they? They can. Oh fuck, look, he's disco dancing. That is ridiculous. Isn't it? Just... Is he got skinny jeans on? Or is he just a corpse? It's a shame. Imagine abusing an old man like that.
They stormed the beaches alongside our allies. Does anyone believe?
Because they had eyes. And I believe my allies had eyes. And that's why they're called allies.
In the 30s and 40s.
Yes.
They would
no
move
doubt
heaven and earth to
that
vanquish hateful ideologies of today.
I heard the people could see.
There was a political dimension to this too. Biden believes his resolve to back America's place in the world is what truly sets him apart from Donald Trump.
Joe Biden's speech here in Normandy was a commitment to support democracy and oppose tyranny. This is a president who was alive during D-Day. It shaped the world in which he grew up. And maybe that's why he is so determined to support Ukraine against Russia.
And in France's National Assembly, Ukraine's president welcomed warmly.
The only thing needed is for Ukrainians not to be left alone, for us to have effective support, continuous, timely, long-range enough, and with leadership, and then we will definitely do our job.
Volodymyr Zelensky has long worried that support for his country would fade. Instead, here, amid the echoes of D-Day and the spectre of tyranny, it has been reaffirmed. Adam Parsons, Sky News.
People are worried about the fucking brown man in the boat.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, has repeated a warning that he could send weapons to Russian allies that could be used to target Western countries. He also claimed the Russian economy is growing due to increased economic ties with countries in Africa, the Middle East and Asia. Our Moscow correspondent, Ivor Bennett, reports.
It was only 2 days ago Russia's president talked up the prospect of using nuclear weapons. Now, apparently, a different side.
Oh, no, a different translation.
Accompanied by the leaders of Bolivia and Zimbabwe, this was Putin the Peaceful.
We are significantly stronger in terms of tanks and so on. This is why we do not even have to consider such a strike. And I would ask everyone not to mention such things idly.
It may be an economic forum, but this was no time to switch off.
So what happened there, the old switcheroo? Because if you listen to RT, the thing that they're now saying that he's backing away from never even happened in the first place. That's some serious... You need to sit back and like draw a fucking timeline. No, I would, because I'm a big bit stupid, to try and figure out what the fuck just what kind of shimmy they just tried to do to you there. I mean the Illuminati, of course.
Because when it comes to what might trigger a nuclear strike...
Right, well, I just want to clarify the Illuminati. The outlets that I predominantly watch are all the major English ones, British ones, and you can hear the intelligence service consensus and shit that they have to get out, not to get out, yada yada yada, between them all. And as I said, in the UK you only get 3. BBC, ITV, and what's the other one, Sky News, that's it. That's it. So the intelligence service just needs to make sure they've got some sort of a ball hair of an editorial stance over all 3 of them, and boom, that's where you get all the same rhetoric, aka propaganda messaging getting repeated again and again and again and again.
Russia's rules, he says.
And I would put money on, I put big money on that shit, because I witness it every day. It's never going to be able to get fucking proven, but you can see it. Again, ITV, BBC, ITV, Sky News, that's it. Everything else is internet shit. Reuters, AP, etc., etc.
Can always change.
This doctrine is a living instrument, and we are closely watching what is happening in the world around us, and we do not rule out introducing some changes to this doctrine.
He's talking about the nuclear doctrine of the Russian Fed, if you want to call it that, the Russian Constitution.
Vladimir Putin's comments are unlikely to dampen down concerns in the West because of the way they were phrased.
These comments weren't made after... I know more than this wee fucking...
We don't need a nuclear strike because we're going to win on the battlefield, he said, while also boasting about Russia's...
We don't need a nuclear strike, so that means he was getting asked about it, didn't bring it up. It wasn't out there posting about it. Now it's getting framed as, we don't need a nuclear strike, we're going to take these out beforehand. You know, and the person that was asking this question, I'm going to stab in the dark, is on the western side, thus framing the question, waiting for the answer. I'm taking the answer and rejecting the premise of how it got brought up in the first place. It's
nuclear arsenal. To me, that doesn't sound like much of a de-escalation.
To you? Mate, you can't get a fucking suit that fucking fits you properly.
Nuclear arsenal. To me, that doesn't sound like
I'm going to fucking find some
much
sort
of a
of insult mixed up.
de-escalation.
You fucking wee fucking smooth looking fuck.
It's not seen like that here, though. Discussion panels like this one offer a window into a parallel universe where threats and warnings are seen as rational responses. Among the speakers, Austria's former foreign minister, who famously danced with Putin at her wedding.
We have today too many highly emotional people, and here in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, but in Moscow, there is a lot of rational decision, a lot of rational behavior. And
Vladimir Putin speaking with rationale, not emotion.
No, Vladimir Putin is somebody who is profoundly rational. It's reciprocity.
The most popular stand here was for a T-shirt with a famous Putin quote: "If a fight is unavoidable, throw the first punch." Ominous words for us all. Ivor Bennett.
Putting taxes up. We have now been cutting taxes. We will continue to cut taxes. The country can afford it.
You're using
£2,000.
Penny Morden, you're
Just
using
be happy with
a
some
figure
rips
that's
and
been
tights.
criticised by the UK statistics watchdog.
Costings and Labour's
Why
own
don't you stand by your
Vanilla
record?
You'll see
Record
it.
levels
Sky
of
News.
taxes on working people.
Well,
26 separate tax hikes in the last Parliament.
About 12 new taxes
That's
that
rubbish.
Labour are going to bring in. It's
Absolute
not
rubbish. We've
What is it then?
absolutely guaranteed we will not
how are
raise
you gonna
taxes
close
for
that
working
gap?
people in this
How are
country.
you going to close that gap? £2,000 per working household.
I'm
Policies are you going to take out
on
of your
the rumbles.
manifesto?
We've been
Which ones
clear
have you
how
did?
we would pay for our
No, you
manifesto.
haven't.
It's
So
time.
just
said that we
catching
would level.
with a chat there. I get stoned and get absorbed into that wee bit of a doohickey.
On to some of what we just heard from Laura Trott, who again is returning to the £2,000 figure. She said,
My God, how long can you talk about the same shit? I'm pretty sure I scrabbled some shite I didn't. Saying so much and saying so little. I'm pretty sure that must have been said a million times in the past, man. I think I'm going to go and finish my kebab at some point. But in the meantime,
Still waiting, despite council homes lying empty. Becky Johnson, Sky News.
Time now to get all the latest sports news with Teddy.
Oh, the Scotland
This Sky
game.
News Sports Bulletin is brought to you by Vitality.
Oh, this is probably going to get me knackered. Hold on, I think we'll actually be good.
Let's rewind slightly to 2018. I just wonder, ahead of that World Cup, you know, what was the feeling like? What was the emotions like?
Obviously, it was a new group, the start of something in terms of trying to build something. The expectation was probably just to get out of the group. But no, we played really well in that tournament. We set a good base, a good foundation.
What?
very strong, and absolutely there is reason to believe that what has been happening in the last 2 weeks may be pushed by political interest. Like, I think the crisis of security and the crisis of governance have been completely interconnected in Haiti for the last few years, right? And there has been an effort to come to a more agreeable governance solution in which people from different parties and Montana and others in civil society felt identified. The CARICOM meeting that happened in Jamaica a few days ago brought together maybe not all of the stakeholders, but some of the stakeholders. And now there is the possibility of creating a government that will be more representative and represents the needs of all of the Haitian people. We have to say, around 80% of Haitians in the recent polls, understanding how difficult it is to do a poll right now, are supportive of a multinational support mission. Why?
I disagree with that because we have to know who does these polls.
I mean, obviously, it's impossible to know.
On Haiti supporting multinational. Oh, please, really? No, I want to know who did the polls and who's paying these corporations. This is unacceptable. People throw out these numbers like we're supposed to just believe them. The last poll I saw was done by an NGO that was paid by the UN. Come on, or the business elite of Haiti that said, that supported the poll. I reject that. I know it's not 80% that want foreigners to come into Haiti.
But Shamima, might that give some indication that at least a significant portion of civil society wants that intervention, even if it's not 80%?
Well, but it depends how many people. When you say 80%, if I poll 10 people and 8 people say yes, that's 80%. So tell me, how many people were polled? In what parts of the country? Was it in Pétionville or was it in Solido? Was it in Croix-des-Bouquets? Was it in the rural areas? Who was polled and how? Was the poll in English? Was the poll in French? Was the poll in Creole?
Fair enough. Speaking of polls, I do need to pivot because I want to talk a little bit more about elections. Again, on March 12th, as we know, the de facto leader, Ariel Henry, announced his resignation after effectively being locked out of the country. And now Haitian leaders are rushing to lay the groundwork for new elections in the midst of deteriorating conditions. But before his resignation, and I'm going to go to you with this, Monique, Henry had committed to holding elections in 2025, can we expect to see elections now in the post-Henry era in 2025, sooner or later? What do you think, Monique?
Farage did. Let me lay it down to you. Elections will not be possible in 2025.
I would love to see the stats on camera time, if you call it that.
So this is impossible.
With regards to like just
The second
actually
thing is that in order to have elections
grabbing your
in
attention,
Haiti,
he certainly wins.
you have
You
to
don't need to
have
agree with him
at
because
least an electoral
you don't need to
who know
agree
who are the
with
people
his
who will
politics
vote.
to
And
agree
you also have to
that
have a system.
he's
There has
definitely
not
got
been a
more
census
presence.
done in over 10
It's the
years
best
in
way than
Haiti.
any of them.
So
Any of them.
intelligent person will
In
tell
fact,
you
I take
it
it
will
back. That wee
take
fucking
a
leprechaun's got a
minimum
presence,
of
but it's
18
fucking
months to
irritates
organize
the
elections
tits
in
out of you,
Haiti.
man.
Now,
You're
having
like, is she
said
far away or
this,
fucking
I told
is she
you I
small?
saw
And then
dead
you're like a bit
bodies
of
on the
both.
street yesterday. So there is no way now that you could ask
Fucking
anyone
shove.
to go
You're the reason
to
that I'm going to
elections. So
get done
let
for
us
fucking
put
domestic
election
abuse.
aside now, because elections are not the
but-
solution right now. Elections are necessary, absolutely, yes, but elections cannot be held
So
in
10
the
more
conditions
minutes.
we have right now.
Let's talk then about what leadership could look like. If now's not the time, as I'm hearing you say, Monique, for elections. You say they're important, but now that's not the most immediate and urgent need. Out of what direction, out of what sector do you expect leadership? Shamima, is there a person who you think could help lead Haiti out of this crisis? How do you imagine a leadership emerging?
On Monday at
Well,
5
I
to
imagine a
9 for
leadership
your
that emerges
fix
that
of the
actually
Daily
doesn't,
PoliTITS.
that is not spearheaded by the U.S., France, and Canada.
Well, I'm just
the
doing
discussion
the
that's
housekeeping
happening in
is the
Jamaica
same
began
and
with the
then
terms established by the
I'm
U.S.
going to do the off
I'd like to point out that other communities
primarily
actually in
'cause
Latin
I
America
need
have actually
to
stepped up. So the
myself.
incoming president of CELAC, the Central American and Latin American nations, Zamora,
can talk to
the
myself
president of
all day
Honduras,
long,
just
but
recently came out and said
it's not that much fun, man.
she she thinks there should be a political solution that actually does not necessarily include the U.S. President Canada, and that she was planning to meet with Colombia and other friends of Haiti and Vincent to actually figure out a way to actually be part of the conversation.
But there's a Skype thing there. Everybody's got Microsoft
the conversation
and Bill Gates only spies on you a wee bit,
or
man.
even if they are having
Way
a
more than
conversation,
everybody else.
it's under the terms of the U.S. And the truth is, you can have this commission. If people don't see it as
More
legitimate,
than Zoom
it's a
or
temporary
WhatsApp.
solution, and this will flare up again 2-3 years from now, 5 years from now, because they're going down the same path. So I think Monique
right
is
now,
right.
the
I think the McCann
poll,
Accord had a chance.
Will
A
Farage
lot
won
of
easy
people saw it
tonight.
as a particular
Just
kind
under
of elite grouping. But
14
then, you
votes.
have they were talking to all these young people, and these young
79%
people from the
said
local communities were part of the Accord.
he will.
They were having conversations. I actually think we should go back to that.
I don't know if it was as much as
now does not include them. And this is the problem.
There's also someone else who has been raised as somebody who could be part of this conversation, maybe even a leadership part of the conversation. I'm going to get.
Still getting annoying shit through. Oh, those fucking foreign accents do your fucking tits in after a while, didn't they, man? It was that fucking leprechaun that fucking broke the what rhymes with leprechaun? The leprechaun. There's a funny thing in there. Rubicon. Something to do with the Romans in it invading and it went over the Rubicon River. Right, that's just some sort of a crazy woman going HRT. I mean, I'm a journalist. That's what she said. US Supreme Court Justice disclose Bali hotel stay, Beyonce tickets, book deals. American PoliTITS, eh? Check those apples out. Now, I was going to say as if like we're all children here, like you know what that's all about, eh? It's like it's the fallout for fucking the Trump shit and all the sides that all those scumbags have picked one day or the other. Can you cough it up loud and strong? The immigrants, they want to sing all night. No Man's Island. We all been on the sauce tonight. Hold on, what's Miss saying? It's always good when women say bad things. Google porn rhymes with leprechaun. Oh my god, you're going to break the algo, man. You're going to give AI a sore head. I listen to that No Agenda every now and again, and their kind of running joke at the moment is AI doesn't exist. It's just some fucking Indian like Googling shit. It's cheaper than actually getting AI. That's some great shtick in it, man. That is really funny. AI doesn't exist, it's just a fucking Indian dude. Fucking Googling. I do not know. He's like up here Googling with his feet and all that, because you know Indians can fucking do 20 million times a million things with their feet. So he's Googling that with his feet while he's speaking to you with his mouth. Hashtag it's true. Can you imagine, right? He's Googling that shit with his feet while he's I did not, and he slows down like, I did not understand. Can you repeat that? And that's why with some voice recognition you need to ask 3 times, because in the background there'll be Indian cunts like that, typing out all the shit in Google. I think that's a good theory. I'm rolling with it, man. I'm all in. AI is fake. AI is, hey. This little A. Oh man, that is quite funny though. Make me fucking hungry. Kip nose, oi fail, shut it down. Like in the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Exactly this. Like, you think it's this big powerful thing and it's just Indian sweatshops. You might even be better, you might even get Indonesian ones. Is there a difference? Who knows? Oh. Right, has anybody got any, Roberto, have you got anybody got any suggestions for films or TV shows? I think I might only last half hour, but always welcome. If I'm not that impressed, I'm going to resort to The Young Sheldon, which is pretty good in the sense that, see if you want something that you can just turn your head off and watch. Have I ever told you some magic? Everybody's seen this, eh? But watch this. I can make this pen. Then look. See? Sea of Love. Right, I'm writing this shit down. Sea of Love. Hold on, I'm writing it down. It fucking Googles. Well, I'll type it, because sometimes when you read you're drunk and writing back, it isn't what you thought it was. Sea of Love. That sounds a bit gay for you, didn't it? I didn't know you liked the gay stuff. Hold on, I'll put it up here. We can all learn together. There we go. Oh, mate, let us. Oh, hold on, gets 4.5. Well, the scores are decent. Mine was 89. Oh, fuck's sake, mate, you're showing your age. Were you on the roids? When you were watching this back in the day, man. Where can you stream it? Most importantly. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen it, Danny. I'd be surprised if I hadn't at that era. You know, because if it was good, at least look, it's got the Patrick Swayze hair and everything for that wee thumbnail thingy. Are you taking the piss, Danny? No, I don't know if you are actually. Danny, have you got any films that are in Braille? Any suggestions, mate, that are in Braille? Latest John Wick. Aye, miss, I like him. Look, I think it's fair to say nobody's going to get butthurt with saying I don't think they're going to win any Oscars anytime soon, but you can definitely stick it on and have a good time, especially if you know what you're getting. If you get me, you know, it's a good thick and fast, action thriller, I suppose you would call it. I don't know. Don't quote me on any of this because I don't know what I'm talking about. Play a wee bit. You talking about that fucking monstrosity that I just played? Didn't he do that, man? See a lot. You're taking the piss, you cunt. Vanishing point. Right. Now, we all have our classics, but how many classics can you still watch? If you know what I'm talking about. Roberto, I'm looking at the pictures and I'm guessing it's a car. It's one of those old-fashioned car kind of films. And you would have watched that growing up, which would have obviously tickled your balls as a young buck. You, amongst others, I would imagine. Yeah, I'm trying to know. Oh, so it's like a Knight Rider-esque thing.
Occupation,
it's
driver,
like Knight Rider,
transporting a super...
This is before Knight Rider.
Background, Medal of Honor in Vietnam, former stock and bike racer, former cop,
Oh my god, that's...
discharged.
Oh, aye, and then you get to like rough up the bum in a wee bit and then like have your... The good old days.
To get himself gone.
Hey, bitch. Hold my gear stick, bitch.
Everybody's after Kowalski. Because you think
Barry Newman, he's a bit...
for one reason or another.
Oh, there's a bit of tit and fanny, man. Oh.
Like what?
Like anything you want.
Oh, the good old days. Everybody wants a piece.
Maybe stole that big dude here. Maybe both.
Fuck you, Roberto, man. I want to go and watch that now. The good old fucking days and a half. Did you guys see that, or was I just playing that to myself? Smokey and the Bandit Company. Oh, so you get Knight Rider. You'll get that shindig. You get Smokey and the Bandit. Life of Brian was a different genre, man. Bend over. Fuck. 9.5 weeks. Is it spelt that way, miss, if you get me? Because ultimately, preferably, well, I'm pretty sure the copy, in fact, I need to do it over here because I think I might have actually not even showed you any of that last. Aye. I'll be honest, it's not my type of flick. It's like 3 weddings and a funeral. I've watched that maybe 2 or 3 times. It's really good and funny, but ultimately it's just after the comedy drops. It's all you're left with is the romance. How horrible does that sound? But it's more a chick flick than a guy flick. Is that fair to say? It's a fair analogy, isn't it? It's a fair assumption. I'm not saying it's strictly. Oh, pardon me. What about Netflix? Series? Do you know what I just watched on Netflix, by the way? In fact, this will resonate with a lot of folk. I think it's called Man Falling All the Way. No. Fuck. I'm going to check it out. Man Falling All the Way. Let me just think. falling all the way. Man falling. Falling all the way, man, falling all the way.
$10 million to Rikers Island.
A man in full fall.
One more
right,
thing.
I know it doesn't look. It's about Donald Trump, but it's not about Donald Trump, if you get me. It's a drama. But if you watch it, you can see like the undertones of how it's about Donald Trump, a rich, out of control businessman losing everything. With all sorts of craziness happening. Shit, and don't watch it. Don't look at that if you don't want to. It's a really good cast.
Why not?
A man in full.
One more thing.
And the reason is no.
One more thing.
See the two L's?
I don't like the sound
two
of that.
L's animate into falling.
We got to go back to the judge to
fall.
get him to sign off.
The same judge that stuck me here?
As long
Aye, so he's like that sort of a thing. I got the Pink Panther collection for hashtag. This is a strange. Well, it's not a strange question actually. You know exactly what I mean. What Pink Panther collection and in what context? Because I'm quite ignorant of that shit, right? But is the Pink Panther no available in 1,001 different genres, languages? Was the Pink Panther not originally a and forgive me, I might have no read the previous messages, so we've just said all this shit. Is the Pink Panther not available in like comics, film? Airwolf, Roberto. Oh, Roberto, do you want to know like the TV series Airwolf, right? It was during the time of the Commodore 64 and the Amstrad 64K or whatever it was called, and I had an Airwolf computer game. It didn't matter that it was shite, it had the same theme tune, and you could just like spend about 25 minutes or 2 hours loading it up, all for it to be the shittest game ever. The films with Peter Sellers. Oh, right, aye, the news, aye, right, I do know who you're, aye. They're funny as, aye, they're the ones I consumed growing up. But I don't know, but am I not right in saying that Pink Panther's like an oldish or like a traditional or back in the day French fucking comic strip shit? I don't know whether I'm tripping in saying that. I just remember there being a kind of cool, interesting backstory to Pink Panther, or maybe I'm tripping. 464 TJ Hooker. Roberto, put your dick away, mate, man. I've told you, man, when you wake up in the morning, man, you'd have saved yourself 250 brick. And maybe a wee bit heavier, but 250 brick. There's a joke in there somewhere. Pugs Bunny. Fuck you, Cardini. For you, it was like going into the spunk booths with 10 pence for the black and white pure quick flick. Well, you have a quick fucking flick. Oh. See, I always thought I always thought Super Grand was special to us Scots, just like porridge. I thought you English cunts get slop and we get porridge. Oh, don't talk about food. Well, do talk about food. Anyway, I will be doing the off shortly, but feel free to stick a wee thumbs up. Hold on, I'm going to look at more. The Mighty Bush. Mate, that's quality back in the day. I don't know if you'd probably get that on BBC iPlayer, I suppose, eh? The Mighty Bush. Although, every time I see the guy on it and it's like, what am I thinking? Fucking baking cakes shit. I'm like, oh. You know, because he went for this pure weird, alternative, weirdo kind of interesting guy to fucking cock whore. But I'm pretty sure he's a lovely dude. Cross over iron. Well, I'm going to finish up the stream, but I can keep the chat open, miss, for anybody that wants to float about the chat.
You were leaning towards from the answers
You won't be able to hear anything because I'll need the audio.
Okay, what is it particularly about the green policy that you like?
I'm going to play stuff.
I think not even just green policy, but the whole
Just chill out for a wee second, but I'll still bounce in and out the chat.
Kind of starting with climate change, because I do think it is what we should all be looking to as our number one.
In fact, still keep hitting me up with suggestions, man.
And so I think other parties trying to
Although young Sheldon is really good, man. I love that stuff that you know, that just doesn't trigger you in any way. Just Blackadder has that. Although I say although there's no although. Am I not right in saying there was 1,000,001 different incantations, and for some reason I loved the one that was in World War II back in the day? I'm pretty sure they've done a medieval one, like, or a hierarchy one, kind of. Pretty sure they've done a few.
I do think that
Dave Allen, Denny. He was the business. Do you know, I can remember him dying maybe 5, 8, 10 years ago because he was such a prominent comedian back then. He was Irish, wasn't he, didn't he? Dave Allen. He was really good. And for what I can remember, he would be perceived back then as kind of alternative and edgy. But he was really funny. And if I remember right, he was fucking. He was Irish. For his sins. Could have been better. Could have been Scottish.
And then you're stuck homeless. You know, so I do think it's
oh no, man! I remember Dave Allen. He used to do the circuit back in the old days, back in the 80s.
Why do politicians make promises and then do something?
Yeah, hold on, is this live? How many times have we seen her there in the left? What is she getting groomed for? Who is she? No, don't get me wrong, it's Friday night and she's a bit of a hottie, man, but like, just don't fucking start telling me about fucking percentage points, bitch, on Friday night.
They promise so much, but nothing ever comes of
I'm
it.
saying that jokingly, by the way.
So you voted Conservative, did you?
I did up to 2 years ago. I voted Conservative.
DJ, only fools and horses. Too easy though, innit? Too easy. That's too easy. I would love to go to. Oh, here. You remember when Cult TV was kind of cool TV? You must remember. Oh, like, here, this will go down. I can. Rick Mail and Bottom. Just the physical slapstick humour of that, which was probably maybe what on the buses. Your last hold there, Denny, that's you showing your age now, mate, on the buses. I'm pretty sure that was in black and white, you cunt.
Probably get my vote.
I was just interested what you both made of the general tenor of the debate. I mean, I don't know if you watched the leaders' debate on Tuesday, but this felt different to me.
When was Father Ted? Early 90s, wasn't it? I can remember Father Ted coming back for the BB on a Friday night, and Father Ted would be on Channel 4. And I'd have a wee bag of salt and vinegar square as my Friday night treat. Oh, the simple times. Good old days. Okay, miss, you've made me leave this open, so you need to keep the guys entertained. Bad joke. Nah, funny joke, but maybe inappropriate. I'll be dipping in and out and all that jazz. I'm going to... So you need to keep the... So I'm going to dip in and out, but I'm going to go and do what I want to do what I need to do. But thank you very much, everybody. Oh, fuck. If I don't come back in, FaceTime. No, I'm joking, miss. As I said, I'm going to leave. There's no skin off my nose leaving this open at all. In fact, it's pretty good. I can bounce in and out as and when I want. I just need to fuck off and do a few things. I'm just saying, right. Just, again, bad joke. Leaving it open because of your suggestions, so you need to entertain everybody. That's the joke. No, the funny, haha. Knots Landing? Why's that ring a bell? That's 1980s TV right there, isn't it? Knots Landing. Oh, what was, oh my god. I can remember the theme tune. It was in the 80s, it was kind of weird and twisted, and then they done a remake in the early 2000s. Oh my god, look at that wee lip. She's still...
in seats up and down the country.
No. It's not pleasant. Wurzel Gummidge. Mate, immense, but I'll be honest, did he not scare you a wee bit? Like things like that could be terrifying to Wayne's. Do you know what scared me when I was younger? This terrified the life out of me. Well, in fact, when I explain it for obvious reasons. Remember David Bowie's The Labyrinth? And the wee puppet, latex puppet things, but they looked horrible, would go and steal the baby. That terrified me, man. And I'd say for obvious reasons, because I fucking thought it was wee fucking horrible things coming to fucking steal me, man. Just go to sleep. Don't worry, there's no monsters under your bed. I just seen them, man, David Bowie. And then he's showing you fucking stairs is up and down and all that kind of shit. Labyrinth was fucked. Aye, Roberto, if you're replying to that, mate, creepy as fuck, man. It was a twist your melon. See, miss, I like it. I like it over time, but I would be lying if I said it didn't scare the bejesus at me when I was born in 81, so I don't know what time frame and all that. When I first watched it, I still believed in monsters, and I'm watching all this shite. Didn't matter if they were singing and dancing after it. I seen them colluding and under the crib to steal the wee baby and all that. Oh! In fact, I actually can remember, I think the time I watched it, I was getting babysat with somebody. Fuck, oh my god. I'm going to have to tell my therapist that shit. I'm going to have to move to America, plus, so I can get a therapist. Oh.
Parties, really there isn't much difference, but electorally Labour are going to win.
Right.
The debate is
hold on, actually,
the opposition
noteworthy
in
point.
the next Parliament. Who fights
Wait, he was
for the
saying
rights
there,
of ordinary British people? Who fights to control our
who's
borders?
going to
Who
be the
fights for men and
opposition?
women running small
So
businesses?
is that what's up for grabs here?
about
If he manages to usurp,
phenomenon, an historic
if
one. So I urge you,
Reform managed to,
join
he
the revolt.
could be the genuine.
Well, unlike Nigel Farage,
He could be the
I do need
genuine
all to
opposition,
keep,
by the
but
way.
we've not had it tonight, so I hope it's been somewhat coherent.
I don't think that
as we've
poll's
worked
too
through
far
the
off the mark.
various
Hold on,
parties.
the
Of
poll
course, the
earlier,
people
I'm
who will
getting
make
confused now.
most sense of it
Well,
for us
Farage
will
will win
be
easier tonight,
the
but
journalists,
the
newspaper
poll
journalists,
done earlier
through the course of the
about
night.
will the
Headlines
Conservatives
will be out
exist
very
after
shortly on
the
the front
general
pages,
election?
and that's the sort of
I think that's
industry
a
that you can
genuine-
feel above us. It's a bit around us. It's a bit
genuine
like, though, the
question.
last hour in the nightclub. The sort of stragglers are here, the hangers-on and the stragglers. Here's two stragglers. I was just saying, it's like the end of a nightclub night, isn't it?
Yeah, we're always at the end of the night. I don't know what
It's
nightclub
running out of time.
you've been to.
It's
One of
running
us
out
going to
of
start crying in a minute.
Aisha Hazarika, Salman Shark, Labour Conservative. What did you make of it?
I thought it was interesting. I thought that the format meant that because there was just so many people on stage, nobody really got the
Don't
chance
you
to
rule the
sort of
world?
dominate it. I think you could see
Come
the
up to your
strategies
parliament,
in play.
speak
Penny
any
Mordaunt was
foreign
clearly
muck-muck.
coached to
Wouldn't
only
be
attack
allowed.
Angela Rayner, not go anywhere near Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage was really trying to sock it to Penny Mordaunt. Stephen Flynn was trying to sock it to everybody. Yeah. It was just quite interesting in terms of how everybody had their game plan coming in.
They sort of tiptoed into it
But
a little bit until
imagine-
Nigel Farage just piled in on the D-Day, cock-up.
What I think was interesting about the D-Day stuff, I thought that Penny Mordaunt actually was interesting in the sense that she sort of put the boot into Rishi Sunak a bit as well. You know, she was quite forceful, saying, actually, I'm really sorry about what happened. It was a big mistake. And I thought that was quite an interesting moment for me.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about how you position people around the stage and whether they draw lots. I mean, you couldn't have, obviously the energy
Rayner,
and the row
centre
was
stage.
at the right-hand side of the stage
Rayner.
between Penny Mordaunt and Angela Rayner.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be sort of a sigh of relief at Conservative headquarters this evening, because what they expected was, you know, Nigel Farage, big figure, very popular, obviously
F
climbing
mad
up the
dick
polls to
could
dominate
vote.
this debate, and he didn't. I mean, that's my assessment of it anyway. I
F
think it
mad
felt a
dick
little bit
could
flat,
make
and
an
I think the
X.
energy, as you say, was very much between Penny and Angela. Given what I said previously, of course, is that I thought it would be much more dynamic, but there was this sense that they were almost coached into sort of being smaller versions of themselves. I thought Angela Rayner actually was very subdued and not quite what I had expected
You know,
her to be. So
a really close pal once suggested that to me ages ago, right?
The game. If
Like,
you're 20 points ahead in the polls, you can afford
watching
to
my
be cautious.
channel,
Was that
oh man,
maybe the instruction she was
fucking
sent
easy
with?
I
peasy
think there's
fucking
definitely a theme
and I'm
running
like,
through the Labour Party. There's the famous Ming vase analogy.
I couldn't
it's like,
get
you know, carrying a Ming
anyway.
vase across a Polish floor.
I couldn't
And
get
Labour's
like,
really
no.
conscious that yes, the polls are looking good, but also the Labour Party doesn't often win elections.
I
In the
wouldn't
last
be able to
100
shine
years, this
myself
country's only ever
to be
elected
presentable
4 Labour
enough.
prime ministers, so they know that
The number
history
one
is
end
sort
up
of
on any
against them. So I think
TV
there's
shows,
definitely
never
some
mind
caution
fucking anything like
first.
that.
And I also think Angela
And
Rayner
Tommy
probably
Robbins is an
didn't
example
end
of
up
how
being
you
the
can
story
become a
of the
legend
night.
in your own
So I think
mind
she
or a
was also
legend in your
you know,
own
Keir
social
Starmer's
media
trying to show
bubble.
that he's a prime
You
minister in
know,
waiting. She's trying
and
to
I
show
know I
that
say
he's
Tommy
deputy
Robbins
prime
because he's one of the most
minister
popular
in waiting. But
motherfuckers.
what was interesting
You know,
is that
like
I
all
thought
his
that
fucking supporters and all that, I'm
Farage would really
convinced
come
he's
in
going to
and
get
have a big
in,
moment
now he
because
doesn't,
he is
he
a
go,
good
and
communicator. I don't agree with his politics,
just,
but he's often quite a
he
dynamic.
ain't got the numbers.
He sort of felt like he didn't quite have
Simple.
that knockout blow
If he had the
moment.
numbers, then
And
it'd
I
be a
thought this
different
would be the sort
conversation.
of
But
night
at the
where he'd
moment,
come
it
to really
doesn't.
bury
So other
the
than
Conservative Party.
like a violent
These
revolution,
guys around us will be
the
drawing their
argument's mute.
conclusions. Conservative HQ will be hoping
Literally.
that it's the debate that takes the front page.
It's just a piss up.
unlikely
It's just
to
a
be.
party and a
The
piss up.
story about D-Day is going to run and run, isn't it?
I think actually Penny dealt with it quite deftly. I agree that with what Aisha just said.
And it's not even, he's not got the numbers, or he was shy a few hundred. The numbers only there, full stop. Jones is a good example as well, man. He can get more votes, thumbs up on a YouTube clip than he can votes at a ballot box. And there is no punchline or anything. He gets more thumbs up on his YouTube videos than he does at the ballot box every time he runs. And more power to him, man, he's doing it.
Our audience members who we just talked to,
you never know, maybe the pendulum will turn and stuff, but that is the reality. I'd love it to be different,
as you predicted,
but it's not.
And so actually,
that's why I'm setting up my
the
own.
SNP aren't the smaller party; they're third biggest power in Westminster. But those parties that don't get as much airtime do tend to benefit more from this format.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think what's really instructive about these formats is for your average voter, it does give these smaller parties a chance to get into the spotlight, and it does give voters a chance to see that there are other options on the table other than like the big two parties. And as I said, as I predicted, I think Stephen Flynn is a good performer. He comes in with quite a strong message in terms of what he wants to deliver.
Man, they must put Viagra in the air or something during these things. I strangely find her fucking sexy as well, for some weird reason. Maybe it's just the accent.
Just on that issue, it has been a very slick social media campaign from Labour this time around. There have been a lot of videos posted out by Labour Central Office.
I'll crack the jokes, you prick.
The debate format like this is a bit old hat, and actually most of this battle is being waged on the internet.
I think there's a lot of that. I think that's been happening consistently and increasingly since actually.
And that's why you guys are there to try and make this stuff look exciting.
Lesson in that. I think if the debate format is going to change, I think people need to find a way to be more engaged with it. And I think partly people are turned off because it was
Hugo sticks.
We spoke to earlier, which is everybody says they're going to change something, but they don't. And lots of the smaller parties.
I think I've done a grand job today.
Trust issue and running with it, and I think if you're going to communicate with people, the starting position has to be a little bit of solid policy.
Women, it isn't sexist,
but if that burning question is trust, and if the pollsters are saying nobody really believes we're getting to the detail, the nub of how the services are going to be paid for, is there a danger for Labour that actually people just don't go and vote?
Well, look, I think the Labour Party is aware that they cannot be complacent about this, and there's a huge feeling out there that people want to change, but Labour absolutely has to spell out what that change is going to be.
Do you think they have to do more in the final 3 or 4 weeks?
I think they will do more, and I think when the manifesto comes out, today was a really important day in terms of this Clause 5 meeting where the final bits of the manifesto are being agreed. That is going to be a big moment. It's a big moment for any party. It's particularly big for the Labour Party with the poll lead that they have, because look, people want to change, but people don't want to give any party a blank check. They want to know what Labour's positive vision is for the future, and that's something that Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner and Rachel Reeves do want to set out. They want to say to people that this is our confident, optimistic vision.
Chug, I think the thing is, the BBC were the people who presented the debate tonight, so it wasn't like on an independent stage and then all the broadcasters get access to it. I think it was the BBC that presented it as such, I think. Chug, but I do get you, man. But that's branding is everywhere when you're swinging your dick in it.
What is going to be apparent is there going to be that much difference between Labour and the Conservatives and what they're offering? And I think people will really hone in on the details at that point.
Just a final thought on the manifestos. There has been some speculation that the Tories need something. Inheritance tax is being dangled. Do you think the Chancellor might decide to scrap inheritance tax?
I think if he does, I can see the logic for trying to win back some core support, but I think it's quite a difficult one. I think there's a lot of attack territory there.
See, sometimes I try and play devil's advocate and go, is this all real? And then you put yourself in and you're like, fuck you,
particularly there's a massive crippling cost of
drama, but do you think he'll raise the percentage point by 0.25%?
Right, I think that's something we should see that kind of dangled at the last leaders' debate.
No, like there's anything that's going to mean an iota of a difference to any cunt tomorrow. Nothing.
That's going to be something I'm looking at.
Brexit only got one look in tonight.
See, we discussed this earlier. It was fascinating because there was this pivot between immigration and Brexit, and Stephen Flynn challenged Nigel Farage.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
And of course, you know, the great thing that Farage was pushing during the Brexit referendum was around immigration and freedom of movement. And there didn't
So
seem to be
fascinating.
any kind of
If I didn't have a blocked up nose and money, I would go and get some cocaine to keep myself awake.
And really, there wasn't
How fascinating
there
it is.
was a lot of detail on how they would do it differently.
Absolutely. We were just discussing at our sort of table of sort of, you know, our group, when Nigel Farage looked down the camera and said, we need a revolution, we need a revolution in this country. A lot of people on the table went, Brexit was meant to be the revolution.
He didn't say revolution.
That was the big, you know, panacea to all the
He
problems.
didn't say reform.
Well, I think Labour doesn't want to relitigate Brexit because nobody...
Maybe the bit's right.
Absolutely not. But
Right,
also,
okay.
well, look, there's a big
Go and put a Scott on and I'll let you off.
happening with the trading arrangements, and they have been clear saying that we would like to have a closer relationship with Europe. But I think we need to be realistic here. Nobody wants to relitigate the whole Europe thing now. And it's fine for Labour to be like, hi Europe, we're ready to come back, like the Nightmare X that has like caused you nothing but grief. We're like, do you know what? We're ready to take you back. Europe might have other plans right now.
Look at the two women like Nightmare X. Fucking cackled. Fucking pair of witches. Oh, look at that cunt just get caught. Look at that guy just getting caught with a wee glass of wine. Look at me hiding it and all that. Do you see that? That's well funny.
Ready to take you back. Europe might have other plans
Maybe
right
this
now.
is just me that can just see the...
We're all going to get chucked
Right,
out.
look. Oh, he's not expecting this. Look. Oh no, it's a can of energy drink in it or something. He looks like a fucking 1970s porn star. He's like, I've been caught with a fucking energy drink. It's branded. Need to get rid of it.
Thank you very much indeed. That's it from us here.
And then that's why I thought he was hiding.
In the screen room, people are
We'll
starting to
look
drift away.
Postman
Do
Pat.
remember, there's plenty of fact-checking on the website. The Verified team are working through what they've heard
Quick,
tonight.
get rid of it.
So go and have
You
a look
make
at
me
that
walking.
and all the clips there of the best bits of the debate as well. Thank you for watching. We'll hand you over to our BBC crews. Have a very...
There was TV images emerge of the last sighting of the missing TV presenter Michael Erection debate.
Yes, good.
10 Rishi Sunak apologises for
fuck.
leaving
Right,
the
what
D-Day
time is it?
commemorations early.
I returned home before the international leaders event later in the day. On reflection, that was a mistake and I apologise.
There was a chorus of disapproval for
He
his
is getting
actions
done,
at tonight's BBC election debate.
Yes, good evening from the debate spin room. Yeah, there was universal criticism of the Prime Minister on the programme from the politicians tonight.
Fuck's sake, man, that guy makes me look like I've got a hairline.
And also on the programme, CCTV images emerge of the last sighting of the missing TV presenter Michael Mosley. The search
So
for
is his
him
wife done him
continues
in?
Greece.
Or has he fucking fell off a
My
cliff?
one regret in terms of the tours that we've done is that I really should have come to play in Scotland more.
Taylor Swift delights fans
Aye,
as
right,
she kicks off
biatch.
her UK tour in Edinburgh. And Iceland send a chill through England in their final friendly before the Euros.
That's it, I'm going to bet.
Man who fought back as a dog tried to maul.
And analysis from our team.
For fuck's sake, BBC, get your shit together.
Her UK tour in Edinburgh. And Iceland send a chill through England in their final friendly before the Euros.
Right, get your votes in, because I'm going to finish the poll and I'm going to finish the stream. In fact, I'm going to leave the stream in 5 minutes and leave it running if people want it left running. In fact, I'll leave it running, but it'll just be nothing there. In fact, that's what I'm going to do just now actually. Thanks everybody, if you don't come back.
Hello, good evening.
But I'm
Rishi
gonna
Sunak
finish
has
the poll.
apologised and said he made
There's
a
been
mistake
16
by leaving
votes.
yesterday's D-Day
75%
ceremonies
say
in France
yes,
early.
25%
The Prime
say
Minister
no.
attended a service
Well, Farage
commemorating
won
British
easy tonight.
veterans,
I think that was
but
a
then
given,
returned
wasn't
to
it?
London and recorded a television interview.
I'll be honest, I
Tonight,
was
during the
expecting
second TV
Sunak
debate of the election
and
campaign,
Melty
Cabinet
Dwelly
Minister Penny
Bootface
Mordaunt
that
said
would
Rishi
be there.
Sunak had been
But
completely wrong to leave when he did.
Rayner,
Our political editor Chris
I'm
Mason
well
joins me
happy
from
with
the
the
debate
substitute.
spin room. Chris.
Yeah, evening
Because
to
I
you, Jane.
love
So a
her
septet
debating
of
style.
politicians for 90 minutes on a Friday night. I grant you it's not traditional weekend
DJ
entertainment,
Denny.
but then again,
Chug.
there is an election
Hashtag.
on.
Listen,
Lots
stay
of
around
stuff
for
to
the
be
chat
debated.
if you
We'll
want
bring
the
you
chat
the
room.
highlights
Stay,
on
don't.
the
I'm going to
programme
keep it
tonight.
open.
And a keen reminder too that yes, there's lots of focus in this campaign on the race to be Prime Minister.
Roberto.
But there is a smorgasbord of options that voters will have in front of them, depending on where you are around the UK, and a cacophony
You know what? I
of
can give
voices.
you
We've got a
visuals
real
but
sense
no
of that
audio
this
because I
evening
need the
here
audio
on
from all
BBC
them.
One. Oh, and
Shit,
all seven
if
of
that
them
makes sense.
had rather a lot to say about the big story of the day.
But in the meantime, used to enjoy the chat.
When this music
Right, hold on, right.
You know polling day is getting close.
I'll leave the BBC on.
And
That's the
within
most safe
minutes of
thing.
tonight's debate
Copyright wise.
today's row
jazz.
was centre stage.
What happened was completely wrong,
Get
and the
drunk
Prime
and
Minister
lonely
has
later on.
rightly apologised for that.
Thank you to all those that have served in our armed forces and continue to do so
Hopefully catches
in
all
what
on
is
Monday.
a very, insecure world at the moment.
A Prime Minister who puts his own political career before public service is no Prime
All right,
Minister
Peanut.
at all.
It was not only politically shameful.
Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.